Good evening and welcome back to the 2026 Democratic primary election coverage presented by Active Advocates in partnership with East Gyul and the Virgin Islands Source. I'm Anthony Mardenborough Jr., and as you know, I will be serving as the moderator for tonight's coverage. And I am joined by Emmanuella Perez-Cassius,
Good night.
Dr. Bria James,
Good evening.
and Mr. Ryan Flegal.
Good night.
And this evening, we're streaming live on Active Advocates, VI, and the Virgin Islands Source, so please ensure to stay tuned with us. And this evening, we'll be providing analysis and revealing the election results for the following offices: Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Delegate to Congress, Legislature of the Virgin Islands, Board of Education, and Board of Elections. Panelists, how are you feeling after this cycle?
I am so excited. This has been a really good primary run. I know people are talking about having fatigue from so much information, but Emmanuella, has had a great opportunity and a great time. So tonight, I'm just here to see what the VI people have to say, y'all. I want to know, are we choosing experience this time around? Are we choosing relationships, or are we choosing new direction?
Absolutely, that's some great questions. And as you all know, voting is both a civic right as well as a civic responsibility. So as we go out and we cast our votes, we're exercising our democratic rights, and it brings me joy to see that that's happening, from the youths to the elderly.
Yes.
And I'm really interested in just seeing how issues have affected this election and what issues are most important to voters, how that translates to the candidates they're supporting. And I'm also interested to find out, do we have an issue-driven election season right now?
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that we do. I'm hopeful that at least it's changing year by year in the Virgin Islands, because I know that in past years, elections in the Virgin Islands have been very much emotionally based, very much about who you know, who your family connection is, who's got the best fish fry.
Yeah.
I want to see if that's changing right now, and I'm sure hopeful that it is.
Well, just based on the time that we were doing these little interviews and showing up, I feel like the conversation and the narrative have shifted with us, right? Like, I feel like as a people, we're ready to dive in to deeper, higher level conversation when it comes towards our government and the way we want to spend or make money.
Awesome. And today I had the opportunity to join the on-the-road interviewers for St. Croix, and then of course we had some on St. Thomas, and we were able to really interview the candidates, voters, get a feeling for how people are feeling about this election. And one of the things that they really shared with us is that they're ready for change. They're ready to see something new. This gives them the opportunity to elect a new governor, a new delegate, and even change up maybe the makeup of the legislature. So we had the opportunity to interview several candidates: Janelle K. Saru, Delia Smith, Stacey Plaskett, Milton Potter, Linda Nikki Brooks, Hubert Frederick. And then on St. Thomas, I know they got to interview Donna Fred Gregory, Rodney Moorhead, Roach Francis. So we got the opportunity to interview a lot of individuals, and I think this election is one of the elections where we cannot dispute qualifications.
No.
Everybody has that.
Sure.
I think it now comes down to who has the best plans to take us forward, who has the best strategies, knowledge, experience that can propel us to where we need to go.
I heard a partner say, partner is what I call everybody that I meet in any social circle, I don't remember their name, but I hear a partner said that it's really important because he think that right now we can't afford to pick the person who planted trees. We need to pick the policy who understand. We need an umbrella,
fill the pothole.
a hat, and how to move.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So it's also a level of urgency that some people are feeling. He was a business owner, so
Yeah.
business owners tend to have that level of like, my livelihood is dependent on some of these decisions. So that's another consideration that I think people are taking in there. Who's going to lead with urgency?
Yes, I mean, planting trees is important. We should always be planning for the future. But for me, it's not a question of are we taking the time to do things that are setting the seeds in motion for our long-term goals, but it's also about recognizing the urgency and emergency of where we are in the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
It's about understanding that urgency and that emergency requires us to be fully focused and working on the issues at hand right away. And I think when we see our elected leaders digress from that, that's when the community gets the most frustrated with government, right?
Agree.
And I think something too is when individuals, when they know, when us as the public know that you cannot come in and do this big grand plan in 2 weeks, but some of the candidates do that. They come out and say, okay, I'm going to accomplish this major plan, when, like Ryan mentioned, we have some emergencies we need to address right now. What are your plans to address those? And I think that's what most Virgin Islanders who went out to vote today be considering. How are you going to address those emergencies that we have, and not these big scheme plans that you know you're not going to accomplish in your first 100 days? And so I think people are now getting tired of people just being fake, and just be real. And I think that's why we've been hearing this transparency and honesty, and something that needs to happen is accountability for sure. You know, and not just as a buzzword, but actually really holding somebody accountable, even if it's your best friend, your cousin, your niece. You know, you have to hold people accountable. So I want us to share with the audience the individuals who are running for the specific offices.
Okay.
So I have the pleasure of sharing who's running for governor and lieutenant governor across the territory. So the individuals, and this is by their ballot number: Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach and Novell Francis, number 1; Stacey E. Plaskett and Milton Potter, number 2; and Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead, number 3. We will now transition to delegate to Congress.
Yeah, delegate for Congress. Excuse me, I don't know their numbers. I'm still confused as to why we emphasize the number on the ballot for candidates in the Virgin Islands as much as we do. It's always puzzled me. I'm like, do we not remember the people's names enough to be able to go for that? Why is it that we always talk about this number thing? And then I've heard some people say, well, what about a voter who might be illiterate? And I think that's a reasonable stance to take, and something that we could certainly be thinking about. But I don't think that's why we still do it. I think it's just a tradition that has happened over time here in the Virgin Islands. But for delegate to Congress, we had a few people on the Democratic ticket. We have Emmett Hansen, we have Terry Helenise, Janelle Sereau, and Delia Smith. And those are the 4 people that ran under the Democratic ticket for primary here in this election.
Sure. And we'll now dive into the Board of Elections and Education.
So for Board of Educations on the St. Croix District, we have 4: Mojanaya Dennis, Terrence Joseph, Christopher Jacobs Jr., and Winona A. Hendricks. On the St. Thomas District for Board of Education, we have Ara Lockhart, Michelle Cawthron, Devonta Xavier, and Judy M. Gomez Esquire. For Board of Elections on St. Thomas, we have 3: Kevin A. Rodriguez, Barbara Peterson, and Tanya Springett.
And we will now shift over to the legislature of the Virgin Islands.
And I'm going to start with the St. Thomas District. So we've got Kashif Hamilton, number 1. And yes, I think the numbers matter for the people who need to memorize just little things, right? Like I'm going in there to vote for 6, 7, and 10.
But we have multiple 6 because we have a number 1 for Senate, we have a number 1 for Congress, we have a number 1 for governor.
You got it sussed out already.
Now we've made it more confusing. What are you talking about?
I honestly think the numbers associated with a candidate helps give that candidate an identity. For example, if you're campaigning and you're number 3,
yes,
you went around saying, "Hey, I'm number 3." That sticks with you. Seeing you know,
yes,
have a resonation.
And maybe
think about
exactly.
We
have to think about the themes. We have to think about the music.
But this is why I maybe am frustrated by it.
Okay.
Because I think that goes back to the emotional voting. I think that distracts us from the issues. I don't want to hear about the jingle, and I don't want to hear about the number. I want to hear about the platform.
You're left brain. But we've got to pander to our left brain and right brain citizens, which that's not one.
We still
citizen.
get the jingle. The jingle's still there.
Yeah, but does I love you vote number 2 goes. Okay.
And
so
what if they know the platform but just can't remember their name, but they remember number 2?
I told you I'm going in there.
But what I'm saying is, there's multiple number 2s on every ballot.
But not
Good
under
point.
each category.
But nobody says vote number 2 for this category and vote number. You know.
We know what they're running for.
Anyway.
So we've got Carlin Joseph, Marvin Blyden, Lawrence Larry Bosholti, Peter Bailey, Avery Lewis, Chanel Fina Francis, Michael A. Smith, Maynard May Leader, Joel Brown Connors, Ray Pompa Fonseca. Every time I say that, I feel like I have to sound like a calypso singer. And Rudel A. Hodge Jr. And that's the St. Croix district. I mean, that's the St. Thomas district.
And I'm glad to hear that you didn't list their numbers.
No.
And see, and we had it was good.
Still good. And then we have in the St. Croix district, Hubert Frederick, Clifford Joseph, Dwight Mike Cartier, Linda Nikki Brooks, Kurt Viale, Jose Bise Gonzalez,
Besse.
Besse Gonzalez,
Yep.
Lisa J. Charles. My brother's name is Bise.
Yeah.
So I tend to.
Oh, you're right. It is Bise, isn't
Yeah.
it? I think I'm doing it wrong. My apologies to
Williams
Mr.
Johnson,
Gonzalez. Yes.
Omar B. Henry, and Kenneth Kenny Gittins.
Thank you. So, which candidates this season really caught your eye? Like, who really stood out to you in terms of their campaigning, their strategies, their plans? Who really caught your eye this season? Current Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach and Novell Francis, who served as Senate President twice. So, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on those campaigns? You know, what are some strengths and weaknesses you saw during the cycle thus far? Curious to find out.
Well, I'm curious to hear, Bria, from your perspective, because you're a young lady. Like you know, I can call Bria young, yeah. I saw her in Pro Bilas in uniform. Rest of y'all put some respect on it. It's Dr. James. But Bria, help me to what did you see? Like when you thought about the governor and the options that you have, like what was some of the thought processes you were looking for?
Okay, so when I was looking for the best fit or who I wanted to vote for, I definitely looked at the issues at hand. I didn't really look at who was the running mate, or I just cared about the platform and what they could offer to the Virgin Islands. WAPA, as everyone knows, is a hot issue. That's one of my biggest concerns. I'm at the age where I want to own a home, so home ownership is big to me. So those who speak in towards home ownership. Also, crime and public safety is something important to me as well. So touching on those topics, I wanted to hear from the candidates themselves. How are they going to fix those issues?
Yeah.
And my votes were based on that.
You bring that up, and I think it's there's a question that I want to ask you, because it's something that I think about with like all voters in the Virgin Islands, and that is, does talking about an issue, is that enough to make you say, oh, this candidate cares about this issue, I now support them, or do they need to have a solution for that issue?
And I'm glad you brought that up, because many promises are being made, but there's no solution to those promises. I need to see an action plan. I'm a planner. I'm a project manager actually in my career. So everything I do is plan based. So yes, you have these great ideas, but what are the steps you're going to take to get, and how realistic are those goals that are being set? How are you going to meet them?
And for me, right, it's about, you know this is an issue. What have you done in your capacity that you are in right now, especially if you're a public official, to address this issue? You know, even if you're somebody new running for office, what have you done advocacy-wise to make this issue? What solutions have you thought about to propose to address this issue? So I want to see stuff like that. That's what I want to hear, see, and like you said, action plan, something that's really attainable.
Right. So for me, and that's why I wanted to start off with Bria, because I think like Bria, sometimes I hear your generation talk and it like blows my brain on some of the things that they want to go with. And it's always usually around that level of like personal attainment. Me, my age group, I'm a little older in the thinking. So for me, I had them sorted out in like 3 areas, right? Like, so I was like, Stacey Plaskett, federal leadership, she got relationships in America. So, you know, when I think of governance and how you govern, these are what I'm like, how much of that does she have? How much of that would benefit us being able to get home ownership? I knew for sure that she was on the same page with the current administration around the disaster recovery. So in my mind, we're not going to cancel any of those things out, right? Like, you're going to keep pushing those projects getting done, and you understand the assignment because you help secure the bag.
Are you specifically talking about like the close to $25-30 billion in
like for the
aid?
hospitals, for the schools, like the plan is not going to change in that direction, right? Like she understands it, and she also understands why it have to happen before 2030s for the cost.
Yeah.
When it came to Tregenza, I was like, okay, current lieutenant governor, nice guy. I listen to me, Tregenza is like a teddy bear. Every time I meet I just want to hug him, and then he has these nice little jokes that you always tell. So I love that. Where does that play in the world today, though?
Yeah.
Right? Like, do we need that level? So that was my second thing for that. And then my third thing for Donna was like fiscal management. If nothing I know, because I was working in education under her leadership, Chica don't play when it comes to that fiscal management. And she also has a personality that can activate other people to do the work, whether it's through fear or or thing you're gonna do the walk, right? Like when I'm like, yay, thank you, or gosh, but you're gonna do the work, and I that's where I saw them. So for me, I was like, what kind of vibe I want us to have. I'll be 100% honest. Community. I was going 100% for a woman this time around. Like, as much as I love Tregenza, I have respect for Tregenza and Novell, I was going woman leadership. I felt like our children need to hear the voice of their mother to calm their agitated spirits.
Yeah.
You know, that's
And you know, I agree with you on that. That's something I've been advocating for years now. I really would like to see more women in leadership. It doesn't feel like since Fireburn, the Virgin Islands have had a majority women leadership. Like, they're not to say there haven't been strong women leaders here.
Right.
There absolutely are.
But you got
And
the
not
one
to
or
say
two, the tokens.
And not to say that women don't play a strong leadership position within the home here, in terms of
Within government.
of shaping how society is altogether. But in terms of the seats we have for governor, lieutenant governor, delegate to Congress, Senate seats, Board of Education, Board of Elections, I think that the people of the Virgin Islands would be better served if we had majority of women leaders there.
I could do with some of that tender care. You know, the testosterone care is agitating the vibes.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, if women could lead households, why they can't lead a job? Why they can't lead a company?
It's a silly question.
Yeah,
Of course
why do we keep saying that, okay, they could lead in these other areas, but they can't lead here?
We don't. We're not saying that. Absolutely not. We're saying the opposite. We're saying they can.
Yes, they can.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we need to give them the opportunity. And I really want to see that, because for the St. Croix District, prime example, right now in the legislature for the St. Croix District, there's only one woman.
And this not just this legislation.
It's
Go back.
happened
It's like
in the past.
One Chucky, 9 men.
Yep.
Like, what is it? One Diane,
Yeah.
5, like, what was happening? So for me, I
Yeah.
really was tunnel visioning it, and I could feel good
Yeah.
in any of the sisters.
All right, before we get education, let's dive into Board of Elections, because they've been in the news lately. The past months, challenges about issues, whose role is what versus the supervisor. So I'm curious to see, did you see anything from the candidates that are running for Board of Elections right now vocalize about what are some plans they think to do to improve the system?
I guess before we have this conversation, we needed to acknowledge the obvious fact here, which is in St. Croix we had one candidate
Yes.
for the Democratic primary, not
Yes.
one candidate overall, but one candidate in the Democratic primary for Board of
Election.
Board of Elections, right?
Shamari Haynes.
So,
yes.
so there was no race to speak of. There were no contested ideals and so forth. It's not to say that Shamari and Forward VI, the organization, or I want to say PAC, the slate that he's with, weren't advancing goals and ideals through this and weren't campaigning, but there certainly was no competition.
I credit that to what Anthony started off from. They've been in the news, people thinking to themselves, do I really want to have to be with that part? It's not the work that runs people sometimes.
Yeah, it's the
the
controversy.
atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Yeah,
Exactly.
How many more screaming matches do I want to be a part
Yeah,
of?
no, that's a fair point.
So I think maybe that may have contributed to one candidate in the primary.
Mhm.
But we have more than one in the general though, right? I think we've got some incumbents that's running too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we want to talk about the same thing for St. Thomas. So St. Thomas Board of Elections, how'd we do?
We have three candidates for the St. Thomas District: Kevin A. Rodriguez, Barbara Peterson, and Atanya Springett.
To me, to be honest, I didn't really hear much.
I didn't hear
I didn't hear
much.
much. I didn't really
Was
see.
it because we're not on the St. Thomas District? Is that a factor?
That
Can we
might be.
consider
That
as a
might be.
factor?
That might be, especially in those downward ballots, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to their legislative bracket, and that's because I look into see who we got to work with. Not necessarily like getting to know them, more like what personality is going to be in these rooms together, kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see which two out of that is going to make it into the general for that. Shifting to Board of Education. Now, we have a Board of Education member here, but I want us to really dive into, we have 8 candidates territory-wide for St. Croix, for St. Thomas, St. John, for Board of Education. And I can just start off the conversation. It was refreshing to see 3 young men running for Board of Education, territory-wide, because it signals that, this notion of males don't care about education, that is not true.
No.
And so to see them, especially Mojanai, I gotta give credit to him, being a licensed engineer and saying, hey, I want to contribute to the system that built me.
Yeah.
That to
And
me is
I don't have to
commendable.
wait to be 100 to do it.
Okay.
That
Right?
part.
Like he's doing it even though he's still building his own personal goals.
Exactly.
And I think for me, that was the part that was most impressive of watching these young brothers do it, because they're at a point in their life. I know when I was in that age group, I tried to get a house, finish school, and take care of children. So
Sure.
there's no way I could help serve my community too, right? Much
hard.
less run an election.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
hard.
didn't have the capacity to. So I think with those areas, it's very applauding to see like people willing to sacrifice, because that's what it's going to take. Getting across the picket line is one thing. Doing the job is another.
There is an old adage that says, if you want something done, ask a busy person.
Ah.
And so sometimes I think the people who are the most involved in their community that really don't have space on their plate to add one more thing are sometimes the best people to step forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
and
throwing hints, Ryan? I
No.
feel like he's throwing hints.
I'm not throwing hints
I
at
think he's
anybody in
talking about you,
particular.
Anthony. I feel like he's talking about you. Brace yourself.
okay. So what about the incumbents? We have 4 incumbents that are running to maintain their seats on the seats that they have on the board. So what are the thoughts about the incumbents currently? We have Judy Gomez, Ara Lockhart, Terrence Joseph, and Winona Hendricks.
Well, I can tell you this from serving with all 4 of those people. That might be my unique
Yeah.
motion here between
Yes.
the 3 of you. It's an honor, right?
Oh.
Like, each of these individuals come with something that I didn't ponder in 2020 for me, right? Like, there's a level of understanding around scholarships and the importance of making sure that that money is available for our children. There's an importance in looking at policy from a perspective that wider than just your district. Like looking at policy that's created for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they came with those level of expertise.
Yes.
But it does not stop me from looking to the future either, right?
Right.
Like the one thing I've got to say is that I would do for whoever comes in what was done for me, right? Like that level of teaching, compassion, and reminding me at the end to say, I so move. When I was making my first motions, because those things are learning curves, and so you make a motion under Robert's rule. There's a technique or a have to it,
Yes.
and I didn't necessarily know who Robert was going in there, much less that Robert had rules that you have to follow, but that guides the meetings.
Yes.
And all 4 of those members was very graceful with me,
Okay.
and not that it didn't challenge me. Don't think this was a nurturing graceful. This was a Virgin Islands moral nurturing. Like if y'all all have Caribbean, right? You have the
Why are you singling me out?
you have the Caribbean experience. But a Caribbean mother, we know, right? It's like catchy.
Yes,
There's only
yes,
one more time I
yes.
go tell you this before it becomes a problem.
Yes.
Spoken
What
like
they
Mother
told
of the
me.
Year right there.
All right, so the legislature of the Virgin Islands, as you know, for the primary, we had 22 candidates. 10%.
What did you think about the candidates for the? Don't just scale over it.
I know, right?
This is Mr. Sitak. He
No,
has
but
relations
I'm
too.
glad. It's important because these are the individuals that I'm going to potentially be working with. And that was one of the things that was important to me. Electing people that I can call and say, let's have a meeting, let's discuss this, because for years, and even to just expand, career and technical education was a focal point for all the campaigns, right? So it's really figuring out the people who can work with the Board for Career and Technical Education to actually accomplish a lot of what needs to be done. And so I wanted to look for candidates that, okay, I could see me having a conversation with this person. We might not necessarily agree on everything, but I could see we having a conversation in getting this accomplished. And so that's what I looked for in those candidates. Like I said, even to the Board of Education, for the most part, most of the candidates were visible. Most of them, you saw them. And I say most because some we didn't see them. But that's a weakness to their campaign, and hopefully they can be able to improve on that if they get the opportunity to move forward to the general. But for the most part, I believe the candidates that were visible really applied themselves, really talked about their plans, and had information. They didn't just say, I want to fix stakeholders and engagement, but actually said how they're going to go about doing that. And that's bridging the gap between the different agencies. And that's not only for the Board of Education, but that's for government, period. We do things too much in silos, which causes us to be in the issues that we're facing right now. There's not enough conversations and action happening between these agencies. So that's my thoughts. And then, of course,
I want to add something
sure.
quickly regarding when you mentioned the visibility of these candidates. Some of them were just strictly on social media, whereas some was just strictly on going out and canvassing and putting up posters. So how do you guys feel about that? Should it be both? Which is stronger? Was it just a social presence, social media presence, or was it just going canvassing, going door to door, etc.?
I have a strong opinion on this. Especially for governor and Senate. You're going to be managing $1 billion plus a year.
Yes.
For 80 to 100,000 people on multiple islands. You ought to be able to figure out how to make a website or pay somebody to do it.
Thank you.
You are going to be managing tremendously complex things. You need to demonstrate to us up front that you can do that by writing out a platform. Not just one page of bullet points of this is what I care about, but as you said earlier, this is what I care about and here's how I intend to fix it, right? Here's some solutions for you.
Right.
So I think it's really important to have that as base level one. Yes, canvassing, meeting people in person, wonderful, fantastic, and a lot of people like that individual FaceTime. That should have the fallback of being able to say, now that you've met me and you know who I am and we've had a conversation, here's how you can read more about me and learn about my policies. And if you don't have step one, that basic foundation done, people can't refer back and understand more about what they're doing. And then all they're doing is saying, I like that person, I didn't like that person, okay, I'm going to go in and, gosh, I've only got 10 candidates to choose from in 7 boxes. I might as well check the one that I met. And I don't think that's quite enough to make for a healthy democracy and good leadership and good governance in the Virgin Islands.
So I'm just going to put on my campaign hat just for a second with that, Ryan, and let's look at the numbers, right? The highest amount of people, and I'm going to say both value, especially in 2026, I saw it, but look at who votes. If the majority of the voters is 75 and over, why would I invest extra money
in a website?
Right? When I could go knock on each of these people's door and gain that impact. Not that it's
Sure.
okay, but I see the website benefit though, because the website helped make sure that we went from 8 to 200 when it came to that certain demographic, right? And we're building this demographic, but we could bet on this demographic. And everything in between is like a shift. But if I'm in my campaign hat, I want to touch you, but I could bet on you. I could bet my seat that I getting in with the 75 and older, so I go knock on doors and give baby kisses and rub those backs. I betting on this group, so I gonna put a little investment in it.
So I think the two go hand in hand, which is to say this. I had a conversation with Positive Nelson, for example. This was when Positive Nelson was looking at running as governor, not as lieutenant governor in this election. And I said, Positive, do you have a website? Do you have a platform? And he said, I'm not making a website. And I said, are you kidding me? Like, you're trying to appeal to 100,000 people on all these islands. Like, I still think, regardless of how many people won't look at a website, there are enough when you're talking about 100,000 or 80,000 people on multiple islands, there are enough that that's a good place to start.
Well, I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to tell you, him and Donna Stork just revealed their website today. So clearly,
which is fine. They're not. That's appropriate.
Exactly.
They're running in the general election.
That's why I said it could be a benefit. But if I have a limited amount of money and I'm just thinking from campaign wise, I'm going to bet my money on this versus that. And I saw people think like that.
No.
When it comes to advertising, right? Like which radio station I can go on. I could give $100,000 to 103 and maybe get 500 new voters in their minds. I'm not saying this is true. You know I love my 103.
Okay.
But when it comes to 101.3, no, we want to give $10
But
because we're
Emmanuella,
not
a website doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to have all these features. I need something that at least has your contact information, has a way to email the candidate, and has a written platform. And this is what I said to Positive Nelson back then. I said, look, you don't want to spend your money on the website? That's fine. You send me the information. I'll put it on the web myself.
Right.
It won't be fancy, but at least it'll be there, and the information will be up for people. And so I think that's really important that we have information available to people. And to your point, for the people who are not going to spend a lot of time online, but still want the information, once you've written it out, then you can print it. You can hand it to people as a paper form too.
They do.
But having I think we're having the wrong discussion when we're talking about should people have a website or not. I think it's really about should people have a written
Information.
demonstration of what their plans and ideas are, what their
Yeah.
values are, what their background is. Should they bother writing this out, or do they just rely on, my cousin?
All
And
right.
that's the difference for me.
So we have some results in, and it's the territorial early voting. So I'm gonna read the governor and lieutenant governor. You can check on
Okay.
your it's in the chat that we have. Yeah. So governor and lieutenant governor. So right now I'm seeing here for governor and lieutenant governor we have. One second, let me put it back.
Can you tell us the percentages of what you are reporting first before we get the numbers?
Sure. The percentage I'm seeing here, ballots cast total 7,107, ballots cast blank 11, voter turnout total 33.97%.
Okay, so how many ballots have been counted for this?
For
so far?
governor, lieutenant
Yeah.
governor, 6,835,
Oh, that's almost all of them.
practically.
Oh,
That's
we're
for the
almost
new
there.
one.
Okay, what do we got?
So Stacey Plaskin and Milton Potter, 3,169. Tregenza Roach and Novell E. Francis, 2,253. Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead, 1,393. And write-in totals 20.
Wow.
Wow.
So let's get this straight, y'all. This is just new early
Early voting.
numbers.
Yes,
Okay.
this is just
Okay.
early voting.
That's okay. That is only from the people who voted before Election Day.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And so who we have for the legislature from early voting, we've got Kurt Viale with 2,495 votes. We've got Kenny Gittins with 1,929 votes. We have Clifford A. Joseph with 1,735 votes. We have Nemi Williams Jackson with 1,560 votes. We have Lisa J. Charles with 1,444 votes. We have Herbert L. Frederick with 1,434 votes. And then we have Jose Bise Gonzalez with 1,141 votes. We have Linda Nikki Brooks with 1,066 votes. We have Dwight Mike Cartier with 460 votes. We've got Omar Henry with 359 votes and 62 write-ins.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm shocked that based on the early voting numbers that Nikki is this low, because I thought her engagement was huge. So I'm really shocked. So I'm curious to see if the actual voting today is going to help propel her to the top.
They got
Because
people like me who like to vote on
on
election
day.
day.
Sure.
So I'm
Yes.
curious
Like all
to
of
see.
us,
I'm
right?
curious to see
Yes.
that
Yeah,
because
these-
And then for St. Thomas, we've got Avery Lewis with 2,053 votes. Marvin A. Blyden with 1,896 votes. We've got Carla J. Joseph with 1,604 votes. We've got Rudal A. Hodge Jr. with 1,135 votes. We've got Chanel Fina Francis with 1,104 votes. We got Ray Popa Fonseca with 1,059 votes. We've got Joel S. Brown Connors with 1,022 votes. We've got Peter Bailey with 989 votes. Kashif Hamilton with 959 votes. Maynard May Leader with 900 votes. Lawrence Larry Boshelty with 795 votes. Michael A. Sheen with 688 votes. Write-in totals, 575 write-in.
here we go again with this. This is again shocking to me with May Leader, because I saw May Leader everywhere. So I'm curious to see if she's gonna propel when the election, the primary election day votes come in, because she was everywhere, and I'm really shocked that as of right now, Ray Fonseca has brought himself back up, because if we remember last election, it was between him and Chanel Fina Francis,
Yeah.
and he wasn't sure if he was gonna get into the 36th.
Well, it's both of them again in the last two, but
Yes.
I'm really impressed by the new names that's in the top 5.
And let's
Right,
talk
like in
about
both
Rudell.
districts.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Miguel Hart Jr.
yes.
he ran for the Constitutional Convention as
Yep.
an independent, changed to a Democrat, and still made it number
Number
four.
four.
Number 4, yeah.
Number
So
four.
he built a base. Clearly he built connections, and clearly he was able to convey his platform to individuals. And he had the blend of doing the canvassing and social media. So clearly that does play a role
Yeah.
in
It
this
is.
time,
Very
right?
true.
And I think part of what propelled him to the top 2 is the young people who went out to vote this time around.
Yeah.
But we're still only talking about a couple hundred votes there, right?
Yes,
I mean,
but
it does help.
it does help his case as a young person,
Yeah.
because Active Advocates, what we did was through this week, we posted pictures every single day. Who are you voting for? And a lot of the comments were geared towards him as young people. Like, the comments in general were like, we're voting new people. Like, that was the notion of most of the comments we got. We're voting in new people, we're giving new people chances, and he just kept coming up. So the fact that he ran as an independent to the Constitutional Convention, got elected, then is running as a Democrat, and based on these numbers, if he keeps this up, can make it to the general election as a Democrat. That is hard for most people to do. So the fact that he did that in just this short space of time is truly commendable.
I think it's
in my
important
opinion.
also, let's reiterate and remind people, this is
Early
all
voting.
early voting
voting.
only.
This is
We're
not-
not
this is
talking
not-
about
This is not.
the
Yes.
full,
Just-
Exactly.
Yeah, this is not
Early
everybody.
voting.
Right.
but still,
talk about the
I think we
boards.
saw the majority of votes cast. Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know how many total votes were cast, do we?
Right. And you still have absentee ballots too.
Yeah.
And we have absentee ballots, of course.
Total votes cast for the legislature for St. Thomas here is saying 14,579.
And early votes?
This is what it's saying here. Total votes cast.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
that's what it's saying.
For St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Total votes cast.
Let's talk about the
14,579.
boards.
Yeah, boards.
Board of
Alrighty.
Education.
Board time. So we have Winona A. Hendricks, 1,254. Terrence T. Joseph, 1,252.
Oh, by two votes.
Christopher Jacobs Jr., 891. Mojaniah Dennis, 857. Write-in totals, 18. Total votes cast, 4,272. And that was for the St. Croix district. I'm going to move on to the St. Thomas, St. John district, Board of Education. Judy M. Gomez, 1,710. Ara Lockhart, 1,257. Devontae Xavier, 1,007.
Wow.
Michelle Cothram, 380. Write-in totals, 29. Total votes cast, 4,383. I'm going to move on to St. Thomas, St. John District Board of Elections. Kevin A. Rodriguez, 1,301. Barbara A. Peterson, 1,293. Atania Springett, 1,231. Write-in totals, 55. Total votes cast, 3,880.
I am really impressed based on these numbers with Xavier. The fact that he's so close to Lockhart is, you
Yeah.
know, that's interesting. So I'm curious to see if he could keep up this momentum with the results that come in from today's voting.
Yeah.
The fact as a new candidate that he got 1,000 votes, clearly he was able to convey
Right.
to his base in terms of, you know, what he plans to do to bring to the table in terms of the Board of Education. So I'm curious to see once we get the primary election day voting numbers to see if he will get the opportunity to go into the general. And for me, this is questioning the St. Thomas district. Clearly, some people are expressing some concern
Yeah.
with Lockhart based on these numbers.
Yeah.
Or people are just looking for new.
Yeah,
Like it
that
could
too.
be just that simple. But then let's look at the St. Croix district.
Yes.
We talk, no,
Mm-hmm.
But yet still.
but name
But
recognition.
the
wins
results are
over.
showing something else, right?
Because the candidates did two different things, right?
Mhm.
Like, Member Hendricks and Member Joseph did totally different campaigns than Mojanaya and
Christopher.
Yep.
Yes.
But look at the
The
turnout.
the numbers are totally apart.
Yeah.
You know, and I
So
think
I guess the St. Croix district is happy with the Board of Education.
seems
They
that
want
way.
to keep it the same.
So
Perhaps.
that is interesting. Like I said, St. Thomas Board of Education really shocked me though. That seeing that with Xavier so high in the numbers is commendable, especially for running your first time. Board of Elections. Well, as you know, Atanya Springett is a current member, but right now she's ranking third based on these results. So if these results continue, she might end up losing the primary and might end up losing her seat. So this then begs the question, are the St. Thomas voters content with her representation on the Board of Elections? Do they feel that she's silent in terms of the issues? Do they feel that the decisions she's making does not match their interests? Or are they just ready to give somebody else a new opportunity?
I don't know. This is the part where democracy baffles me, you know? We can think, but let's wait. Did we really like dive in deep into what we're looking like in our gubernatorial race?
That race is the numbers are really interesting. Like I said, you know, with Plaskett and Potter at 3,169, Roach and Francis 2,253, and then Fred Gregory Moorhead with 1,000.
It's a substantial lead in early voting.
Yeah.
Substantial
Yeah.
lead. You want to hear about Delegate to Congress?
Yeah.
Yes,
bring
tell
it
us.
on.
So Delegate to Congress, we have, again, solid leader. Again, this is based on
Early
early voting
voting.
only.
Yes.
This is not any of the votes cast today on primary day, but early voting only. Again, remember, this is based on the total ballots cast in early voting was 7,107 ballots. Of those, there were 6,616 ballots that chose to vote for Delegate to Congress. Okay,
Yes.
so there was a few that did not. But of those, over 50% of the voters who cast votes in that race voted for Janelle Sereau. 3,548 votes. Again, early voting only. This does not include today's votes. Delia Smith came in second at 2,141 votes.
Okay.
Terry Helenice trailed a distant third, 556 votes, so only like less than 25% of what Delia Smith had. Emmett Hansen wasn't that far behind that with 356 votes, and then there were 15 write-ins as well. So a very strong showing for Sereau in the Delegate to Congress race.
Yes.
It puts her in a substantial lead before counting the vote tallies for today and the absentee ballots.
I guess based on these numbers, I guess people are not content with what Helenice did in her capacity representing the government in federal.
I listened to the radio this morning, and I think Jamela did an excellent job of explaining what kind of happened with her campaign. She said she started off strong. She busted the gate, but then she fumbled, right? Like, you know when you trip on something,
Yes.
but you never catch back your footing.
Yes.
So she kind of like stumbled through
Yeah.
the rest of the campaign. And when I heard that, I was like, that makes sense.
And
She didn't fall, but she was just like wobbly. So now Dahlia, on the other hand, bust the gate slow, but was like a sprint runner. You know,
Yes.
like sister was
Mhm.
going on like
Yes.
Like a
what's her name,
marathon runner,
Sha'Carri?
yeah.
No, like Sha'Carri.
sprinted it.
Like, yeah,
Oh,
she
yeah.
was
Yeah, yeah.
sprinting.
Okay.
And Janelle was like a long runner. You
Yeah.
know, those people that kept the same pace by going 10 miles and
Yes.
still ain't catching me.
Yeah.
That's she
But
explained
I-
it something like that, and I was like, makes sense.
This is also a big rebuke of the Brian Roach administration.
Agreed.
Right? I mean, Albert Bryan said, let's continue this.
yes, he said
And
it.
continuing this, what he meant was really two candidates,
Yes.
especially that I can think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
The two candidates were, of
Big.
course, Roach
Roach,
as
yes.
governor and Terry Helenice as delegate to Congress. And Terry Helenice got 1/7 the votes of Janelle Sereau, approximately,
Yeah.
right? So that says a lot about, I think, because it was so tied in to to our governor's work, our current governor's work. It says a lot about how voters feel about that.
You know, our dates are getting better and better, Ryan. And I just want you to know that if we can just take this relationship into the general election,
Yeah.
because little things like this, when I'm talking with you, you intrigue me. Like, this is so smart. Like, it makes sense. This wasn't so much a for, but this was a total against. And think about it. Janana and Albert had past, you know, like past disputes.
Yes.
Stacy, it's like been like this love-hate administration, delegate relationship going on for years. Like,
Well,
1 minute we're working together, the next minute I did this and I did this, and you know I have to call in my people.
Really, do you think for years? Because I think of her as tremendously popular until this election cycle.
No, I'm saying him and her, their relationship.
Oh, Brian and
so
Brian.
one time you're like
Yes.
the
Fair enough.
delegate and the administration
Yeah.
walking together, you
I'm
know.
glad I'm glad
And then the next minute
later-
they're at odds.
And then the next minute, the delegate and the administration is not on odds. And
True.
people are frustrated, or they're going after different things,
Yep.
or everybody wants the award for who did it.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
whole thing of who brought home the bacon was I thought that was so. It lacked class, basically.
Yeah.
It was so ugly. I mean, I feel about this the same way about this anytime. Like, I always want to see it as a we effort anyway.
Yes.
And so I always want to see a candidate, as much as anybody in the public, like acknowledging the combined efforts of
Me too.
Of
all
getting
us,
this
right?
thing done.
Because that's the reality.
That is the
Exactly.
reality.
That's the reality. Nothing gets lifted by yourself.
Yep.
In
Exactly.
government,
Yep.
or in federal government, or in anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I want
that's
us to go back to history a little bit and go back with some of these primary elections from the past in terms of Springett. I really want to explore Springett in the St. Thomas district for a bit in terms of elections. So in 20...
How far back we going? Yeah.
we're going to do 2022.
Okay.
So in 2022, because that was her last election, she got 1,113 votes in that election, and now she came third based on the early voting for the St. Thomas and John District. Can you give me the number again?
Yes, 1,231.
So
1,231.
Yeah.
that's what she got this time?
Yeah.
Okay, so she got a little bit more, but that still wasn't enough to propel her to the second spot based on the early voting numbers. So, and I think for 2022, based on the amount of individuals that voted, I wonder, because it says total votes cast was 1,785. How much cast was here?
1,231.
Okay, so they had a few more. This one I think had more. If you said 1,200, so this had more, but at the same time, I think what happened here was only 2 candidates that run that year, and people chose who they were most comfortable with. But now this time around, they had 3 candidates they can choose from. Of course, with 2 only advancing. So, you know, this is interesting. These numbers 4 years ago for her were good, and now this time around it is not
You think
as
it's the
well.
person or the campaign, right? Like sometimes,
That's a good question.
you know, like
Yes.
is it that they're running a weaker campaign this time around, or is it that people see as a different person and it's like less people are interested?
Question, do you feel some of these candidates, they started kind of late in regards to campaigning?
Everybody
Yes.
did.
Yes,
Everybody.
everybody did.
Everybody,
If you know
right?
you
Bull and
want-
Red, nobody was there.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody
Yes.
was there.
November, you're right.
Wow.
Everybody waited to the new year to
Everybody was
to
late.
start. Yeah.
So when we talk about Terry Helenice, as we were saying a few moments ago about her getting the jump on it, her jump was actually a late start comparatively to most years. It was just, she was just the first one there, and she was by herself at the beginning, right?
Let us be they really started to spike up at Ag Fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when
Fair
they
was a
really
kickoff.
that's
Ag
really
Fair
when
was
they
a-
started putting
Ag Fair
on
is
the
in Bull and
shirts
Red.
Yes.
and started going out,
Fact.
which is not typical.
Mm-hmm.
They usually start at like what Emmanuella said, Bull and Bread Day. That's usually when they come out in their shirts and you know,
And it turned into a fete.
yes, they're ready to show up.
Wow,
You know,
Mhm.
so and based on these numbers, for governor, I'm now thinking about even whoever makes it past the primary into the general. Are we gonna just have a next sweep, or are we gonna go into a runoff? So I'm curious about that. I'm curious to see, is there any independents that are strong enough to take on whoever the Democrats are gonna be? So I'm
Well,
curious to see that.
I think, and audience, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
runoffs is only for gubernatorial elections, right? Like, there's no runoff.
There's
in
no
the Senate.
runoff in the Senate.
No,
Senate, yeah.
no.
But there's a runoff in a gubernatorial.
Yeah, the
but-
top two.
Right, but look at the gap there.
Yeah, so
That is
that's
not
the-
50 plus
yes.
1. That's, well, the numbers we're looking at is 50 plus 3.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just early voting, so.
Yes.
Because so far, what did they say we have for today voting? I think it was only at 1,800 or something?
I think it's now 2,000
on
or
St. Croix?
something.
Yeah, I think that's what I was seeing on St. Croix.
Mhm.
But if that's the case, is that going to close that gap?
Mhm.
It would have to take every single vote to close the gap.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, right. I
Yes.
mean, I think for the candidates like Soro, who's so far in the lead, that it might be mathematically impossible to catch her at this point with today's votes, but we'll see how that works. I haven't done the math yet, but it's a big enough gap, right?
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you, like you all said earlier, Delia Smith really, she was quiet in the beginning, but she really
I'm
spiked
telling
up,
you,
and
like
I
a
think the
Sha'Carri
debate
Richardson.
played a part in that too, because I attended the debate that they had for delegate to Congress, and leaving, people basically said the race is really between Janelle Saru and Delia Smith.
Mhm.
Like they discounted the other two individuals, not discrediting their experience, but it was just kind of like,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
How much votes did Emmett get? Did we say that?
Yeah,
We did,
356.
Oh,
right?
356.
356, right?
Yeah, it was really low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just like they didn't even discredit. They didn't even give those two really the opportunity based on these numbers to propel to a level where they even have a chance. But like I said, when I left the debate, most of the individuals I interacted with were like, it is between number 2 and number 4.
Yeah.
Well, I still think, even though I emphasized by how much Soro is ahead at this point, I still think it's worth mentioning. Delia Smith did, as I think everybody agrees, she did an excellent job campaigning.
She sure did.
She picked up the key endorsement from Donna Christensen,
Which,
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
which I think did help her case.
I,
Yes.
I do too. And she was relatively unknown before that. I mean,
Yes.
if before the campaign time started, if you said
Yes.
to any Virgin Islander, do you know who Delia Smith is, or do you know who Janelle Soro is, like, there's going to be a wide gap between that, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Wide
Right.
gap. She wasn't in the public eye.
Fact.
Mhm.
So for her to come that far and pick up that many votes demonstrates a lot of
It
interest.
demonstrates
A
that-
lot of interest.
Janelle is going to the Hill. If she wanted to stay on the Hill, she better do the walk
Walk,
because
yes.
we got somebody here
Yeah.
ready to replace you.
We'll see.
You know, like, that's 2 years. That's
Mm-hmm.
And-
if she keeps
yeah.
if she keeps her face visible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
20,
And I'm
20
taking a
years.
step further because remember in the beginning, I remember people saying, "Oh, I'm not voting for Delia Smith because she put a lot of black and brown people in prison and
Who
in
said
jail."
that?
People said that. People
Jeez.
said that, right? But clearly, the public is saying, "We want to give her an opportunity."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and people need to understand she was a U.S. attorney,
Yeah.
right? So that's practically her job to prosecute cases, right? So my whole thing with that is just don't do crimes. Then you wouldn't get charged, and you wouldn't I mean that is not for me a valid excuse as to why you're not electing now. If she just all of you go in jail and this is just that's a different story.
That's
but
not how the system
but that's not
works
how
anyway.
it works
And
anyway.
I remember her answering a question. I don't actually remember if it was at the sit down with us or if it was, it might have been Dialogue 340. But Delia Smith was asked about like regrets. And one of the things she said was that she regrets that as her job as an attorney, that she was required to prosecute people for immigration crimes. And she didn't always agree with it, but she had to basically follow what the job
job.
was in
Yeah.
that way.
So,
That was part of
even
how
though
it
we
went
don't
around.
have the official numbers, do you think we should run the numbers one more time?
Sure. Let me
Yes,
start
sir.
off again with Governor and Lieutenant Governor.
Just for the people who's just
Yes,
tuning
that's
in.
just joining in. Yes,
Well,
yes.
welcome.
And a reminder, this is what we're talking about right now. This is all still early
Early
voting.
voting.
Early voting.
None of this is, there's not a single vote tabulated from today, August 1st, that we are mentioning in this conversation.
Right.
This is all votes that were cast in early voting only.
Yes. So we have Stacey E. Plaskett, Milton Potter, 3,169. Tregenza A. Roach and Novel E. Francis, 2,253. And Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead with 1,393.
All right, and the write-ins are 20.
Yes.
For the legislature, we've got Kurt Viale at 2,495 votes, Kenny Gittins at 1,929 votes, Clifford Joseph at 1,735 votes, Nemi Williams-Jackson at 1,560 votes, Lisa Charles at 1,444 votes, Hubert Frederick, 1,434 votes, Jose Bise Gonzalez, 1,141 votes, Mike Cartier at 460 votes, and Omar Henry at 359. And then if we go into the St. Thomas district.
Wait, what about, did you say Brooks?
I did.
Okay, good.
Yes. I said Brooks, and he was, Linda Brooks.
Yeah.
Is 1,066. You're right. I skipped one. Thank you, Ryan. For that.
I didn't hear her name, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nikki, sorry.
And you know what's interesting?
1,066 votes.
What's interesting to hear from me about that is actually the spread isn't as dramatic as I think I remember from previous years. I'll have to check and see what we've seen in past years.
And that means they ran a good race. We're going to look into that
Because-
you're right.
because-
the gap is not that wide.
Of the
Yes,
top
yeah.
7, Jose Bise Gonzalez was the lowest vote getter that made the cut according to early voting only.
Yes.
This is only a preliminary indication because we don't have the final votes. But for early voting only at 1,141 votes,
You only got,
that's
definitely.
still a reasonable showing for the comparatively to other votes. We
So-
don't have anybody in the triple digits. They're all in 4-digit numbers.
We can honestly sit back and say Lisa, Herbert, Bise, and Nikki
Yeah.
can be shift and shuffled.
Yeah, they can.
Like,
Absolutely,
all
they can.
4 of them are close enough.
Absolutely, they
That the
can.
numbers of people that voted today, that would
Yeah.
absolutely shake it up just
Yep.
a little bit.
Yep.
And then in the St. Thomas district, we have Avery L. Lewis with 2,053 votes, top vote getter, and this is his second time around,
Mhm.
right? Marvin Blyden, 1,896. Carla Joseph, 1,604. Rudel A. Hodge, brand new to the bus, but top 5, 1,135. Chanel Fina Francis, 1,104. Ray Popa Fonseca, 1,059. Joel Brown Connors, 1,022. Peter Bailey, 989. Kashif Hamilton, 959. Maynard May Leader, 900. Lawrence Larry Boshelty. You can tell I'm getting old with no glasses. Lawrence Larry Boshelty, 795.
There you go.
Michael A. Smith, right? 688. But this is what baffling me with the St. Thomas district. 575 write-ins.
Wow!
What are we dealing
Really?
with? Yes.
Yes.
Wow!
575 write-ins for the legislature over there.
That's actually really encouraging news for anybody who's running an independent campaign this year.
Yes.
Because it says that people are not satisfied with who's on the ballot for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, them too. Anybody could shuffle.
Yeah.
Anybody in the 5 can shuffle.
I want to just say before we do the next set, so the final turnout update for the election day turnout is 2,885. And the combined total of early voting and today's amount is 9,998. So almost 10,000 voters exercised their right.
Yeah,
Today.
I think it's important to
Combined with today and early voting.
we had a number earlier that was something like 14,000.
Yes, it's right here underneath the St. Thomas votes, total votes cast.
I think that's total votes cast
Cast,
for
not voters.
different seats
Seats.
within
Yes.
that office.
Yes,
so
within that
that's,
office.
that's,
Yes.
that's a repeat of votes cast by a single voter.
Right, they just
Okay.
add all of them, right.
Yeah,
But,
together.
but
yes.
we're saying that the total number of voters was just barely too shy of the 10,000
Yes.
mark
Yeah.
for
Which is more.
territory-wide for
Yes, and they're
all
saying
of the
that this
primary.
is the highest
It is.
turnout since 2014.
Yes, I'm looking
2014
back.
we had that many.
2014, we don't have
We don't
data.
have it here,
But
but
20, yeah. I know, because 2022,
2014, you think in the primary we had close to 10,000 people
I can
voting?
pull it up right now.
I would love to know that,
Actually.
because that sounds, I'll be so impressed if that was the case in 2014. Of course, the population was larger at that point, too.
right.
Mhm.
So it would be it'd be curious to see both the number of voters and the percentage of registered voters that showed up for the
Okay, so
primary.
let's pull up 2014 primary election here. And then let's see results.
While you're doing that, I'll go over
Yes.
the delegate to Congress numbers again, because I think it's important to share those. Again, this is, the disclaimer is, this is early voting only.
Yep.
So this is not including election day today. We should have those numbers shortly. But for early voting only, the numbers are 6,600 total voters cast ballots for the office of delegate to Congress. And out of those 6,616 votes cast, 3,548 went to Janelle K. Siro. Trailing with a very respectable second place, so still quite a ways behind, was Delia Smith with 2,141 votes. Terry Helenice, quite a bit further back at 556, and Emmett Hansen at 356. Again, that's early votes only, so we don't have totals yet. This is not enough to say who has won the race, but we are close. And it's about half of the well, it's not quite that many, but maybe 40% of the total votes cast today is what splits the first and second place vote getters in the early voting between Janelle K. Siro and Delia Smith.
I'll just transition into quickly
Yes.
Board of Education. So for the St. Croix District for Board of Education, we have Winona A. Hendricks, 1,254. Terrence T. Joseph, 1,252. Christopher Jacobs Jr., 891. Mojaniah Dennis, 857. Write-in totals, 18. Total votes cast, 4,272.
And I think it's important to note to everybody, we're looking at the top two vote getters in that race, correct?
That's correct.
So those are the two people who are going to have the seats, or who've been nominated essentially, or will have been nominated
Yep.
at the end of this for
And
the
then they go to
Democratic
the
Party
general.
to go to the
Yes.
general election.
And as of right now, Winona A. Hendricks and Terrence T. Joseph are the two top getters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the St. Thomas St. John District for Board of Education. Judy M. Gomez, 1,710. Ara Lockhart, 1,257. Devontae Xavier, 1,007. Michelle Cothram, 380. Write-in totals, 29. Total votes cast, 4,383. So far the two top vote getters, Judy M. Gomez and Ara Lockhart.
So there's like a 50-point difference between Era and Devante.
I want to say something about this too. You said it's 4,000 some odd votes cast for the
St. Thomas St. John District.
St. Thomas St. John District for Board of Education.
That's correct.
How many did we have in St. Croix for Board of Education
The
votes
total
cast?
votes cast was 4,272.
Wait, that doesn't make sense. That's over 8,000 votes for 7,000. Oh, because again, we're talking
Different
about
district.
duplicates. No, it's not. It's these are votes cast, not voters.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, so votes cast, so effectively, if somebody votes for two of each, then we can have those numbers
Absolutely.
approximately
Yeah.
to see what's happening there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it also tells us that a lot of people stopped voting after the legislation. Like they didn't
Yeah.
continue down the ballot.
Right.
That's what I was trying to get at,
Yes,
is I was trying to
yes.
figure out how many,
Numbers are way
and because it's not split up by voters, but by votes cast,
That's right.
you can't see that data immediately, but we can infer it from what we're seeing here.
So, if I had to think about one of the craziest things that baffle me around elections,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. Like, there's some people who go in and push governor and walk right back out.
Yes.
There's some people who go in and push legislation and walk right back out. Like, I don't understand why stop, right? Like
Well-
run the whole bill, let's go. But there's a lot of people that just vote under one category. Like, I only vote in gubernatorial election
Yes.
years. Like, I hear these things and I'm like, man.
But you
are
know
the
what? Can we
worst
give
thing-
credit that they're actually still going out to vote?
Yeah.
Of course you get credit for that.
It's
but
their responsibility, Bria. You
Yeah.
started
It is
out
their
by
responsibility,
saying, should we start
even if
to
they-
find them?
And you
for
got to
not
remember, you're
voting?
talking to Ms. Perez-Cassius, who, of course, has been on the ballot
Right.
at that Board of Elections level and seen what happens with it. And I mean, I think education has always been one of the top priorities of this election. It's always been something that every single candidate has talked
Agreed.
about in terms of the governor's race, Senate race. And so to see education as being so important to the people of the Virgin Islands and not see us using that by exercising our power equally to vote for people for Board of Elections and Board of Education, I think it's a loss to us, right? It says something about our own responsibility to those offices.
But what I looked at this year, though, I feel like people are paying attention more, right? Like the numbers show that more people did go down to the bottom than stopping at the top. And that's my 2018 run.
Okay, so I got the numbers from 2014. So for the St. Croix district in the primary that year, 5,488.
Wow.
St. Thomas St. John, 5,070. And the total was 10,558. So yes, this is the closest that we've been since 2014.
Wow.
And how many registered voters in the Democratic Party did we have in 2014? Do you know?
Registered voters for St. Croix that year was 18,104.
104?
Yeah, and then St. Thomas, I'll tell you right now, the registered voters that year was 17,269.
St. Thomas, St. John, 17,269.
Yes.
And compare that with present day.
Yes.
Do we have present day numbers?
10,000. We just
Current
No,
registered
registered
current
voters.
registered voters.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
We can pull that up.
I don't
too.
have the registered voters numbers. Let me see if I see it on BI. BI vote. BI vote. And see. What is the comparison though? Like we know that we are doing better this year than we have in a long time in regards to people coming out.
But here, I mean, I'll give you 2024. 2024 registered voters was a little over 10,000 in each district. So the total was like 20,300 and something.
Mm-hmm. So that means half of the voters came out? So no more saying.
Well, what I'm saying is compare that to 2014. In 2014, that 20,000 and some odd of 2026. 2014, the registered voters was 35,000, right? And change.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dramatic difference in the registered voters. So much, much, much higher voter participation amongst registered voters. Now, we of course need to ask ourselves the question, why did we have fewer registered? And it is registered Democrats. Exactly,
like,
excuse me. Thank you very much for pointing that out.
Yes.
But so the question is, did those people switch parties or decline to stay a party and go independent? Did they move off island? Or did they just decide, I'm staying home? I'm not going to bother voting anymore. They were moved from voter rolls because of non-participation. That's the part we need to be looking at. Some of it we know. Some of it was a population issue, right? But that doesn't explain all of those voters.
Because I was just about to say our population has dropped,
but not that much.
Right, but the amount of Democrats may not have. Right, like people who are leaving may not be a part of the party, so to speak, on the voters. So
yes.
I just think it's bigger participation, Ryan. I think like it really comes down to 2024 and maybe whatever was happening in the year 2014 that led to we better get activated.
Yeah.
That same energy is out there now in 2026.
Remember, and what people don't notice, remember that year DeYoung was not running for re-election because he was term limited. And we were getting the opportunity to elect a new governor.
That's right.
So here we are again. Remember 2018, Brian unseated Matt.
Very good. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But now Governor Brian served 2 consecutive terms, so now he can't run again. So now the people have the opportunity to shift the course, pun intended, that they want to have for the next set of years in the territory. So maybe that's why 2014 those numbers were high, because they had the opportunity to elect a new governor.
So is it safe to say when it's a gubernatorial year, when they're like, okay, is it safe to say that anytime the consecutive terms has ended for a gubernatorial candidate and we have new candidates, there's a larger turnout?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sure. History shows it.
That's a definite fact. Especially when it's not a re-election of a governor, like a new gubernatorial, for sure.
Because most people don't challenge an incumbent.
Yeah.
But every primary is not so hot though. Like a lot of times the primary exists or happens, but it's not like on this level of numbers since 2014. But the
Yes.
general election,
Right.
triple
These
the amount
numbers,
of people
yes.
gonna come out and
Yeah.
vote for it. What you know what I'm thinking about what's happening in the world though. Do y'all think that the world occurrences is definitely making us think we gotta have the right leaders in place? We can't
sure.
just
Yes,
be
definitely.
right now.
Right,
Yes.
yeah.
You know,
For sure.
I think that. I mean, and it might just be me, but I'm a little nervous
Yeah.
of the impact of the global changes and how it's going to affect our economy. and
Of
stuff.
course.
Before discussions was around, we're gonna go to the federal government and get this. We're gonna talk to the federal government. We might have to be saying right now, who's our new partners?
Yes.
Where's our new trade? How are we going to make outside of federal support? You know, and I think that may be a part of
And I
what's
think,
driving people.
and I think part of that was with the whole discussion about the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when that whole thing, the gas thing spiked up, and individuals was like, okay, who is going to help us get out of this crisis that Virgin Islanders are facing, right? So that was I think that is a core focus. Who is best prepared to get us out of this?
I just want you guys to know, I just went to my good BFF chat, and don't worry, Ryan, our dates are still legit. But me and chat from every now and then, and you know what it said was happening in 2014? We had a woman gubernatorial candidate then too. Oh, Donna was running against Kenneth. Chat just told me. And Kenneth
I remember that year
defeated her
had a
November
lot of
18th.
women, because remember I think that year,
Soraya Diaz Kofi.
Yeah. And I think
was
Mona
running
Barnes
too.
ran that year
That's
too,
right,
with Wendy
that's
Karam.
right, that's
So
right.
maybe I guess when women are running for these offices, it
That
spells
was
up a
also
challenge.
Stacy's first year.
Yes,
That was her first year running too.
Well,
I remember that's what she.
2014?
I think we probably have a higher percentage of women that are leading in the votes right now compared to the percentage of women that were candidates, right? Does that make sense to you? You see what I'm
Let's check.
saying?
Let me check. I think you might be.
I mean,
onto
for
something.
example, governor's race for Democratic Party, we had 2 women and 1 man, but it was a woman who is leading the vote tally there. For delegate to Congress, we had
3 women.
3 women, 1 man,
Mhm.
but it's a woman who's leading the vote tally there. But for Senate, and that's where it gets interesting because there were primarily male-dominated
Yes.
in the candidates for Democratic Party for Senate in both districts, St.
Yes.
Thomas, St. John, and in St. Croix. But we've seen a number of new women stepping forward in terms of getting the top 7 votes, at least in, again, early voting, because that's all we're talking about so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those numbers coming in? What
Yeah,
are
they-
they?
they are
Where
We're waiting.
are
You know, and I
keep
think-
looking at
and
my
I think we're
phone
not the
and
only
I'm
ones
here
that-
like getting anxious.
It's so funny, we're so impatient for this, but you remember, I mean, it used to be these were hand counted and it would take for a long,
Listen to
long
me,
Yeah.
when I
time.
was a little girl.
Yeah.
First of all, I used to have to lay down in the house with the radio playing, right? Because you have to keep coming back. So you're going to bed at like 9 o'clock and
Yeah.
10 o'clock, and my mom and all her friends are sitting around. It's like, you hear the new numbers?
Yeah.
What's taking us so long? And a lot of the times you didn't get the results till like the next day or the next day after
Right.
that. But it was always like an exciting thing, and everybody cooking
Yep.
food. I'm going to sit down and listen to the results.
Yes.
But today is 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, election. Let's go.
Mind you, some people still trying to take us back there, you know,
Yeah.
where you're sitting and doing this for hours and hours and hours.
Nuts.
You know, instead of
Nuts.
having faith in the system that we're trying to develop.
Yes, yes.
You know, I think
yes.
it's also really interesting to talk about what issues came up during the election cycle this year.
Mhm.
Because in this election cycle, we saw things happen that were a little bit different than before. You want to go with the final numbers? Do we have them yet?
Yeah, we have some numbers for primary election today on
Okay.
St. Croix. So governor and lieutenant governor, Stacey E. Plaskett, Milton E. Potter, 1,324. Tregenza A. Roach and Novell E. Francis, 801. Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead, 582. Write-in totals, 19. Total votes cast for that section, 2,726.
And before you go on, let's just make sure we have the right context here. We're talking about the numbers from people who cast
Today.
votes in person today, August 1st only.
Yep.
Yes.
Right?
So everybody
Only.
at home
And
that
this
was
is-
taking note, Bria with her pen.
Yeah.
Now you're adding that to what we said.
We're
at
adding that
early
to what we're
voting.
saying.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
the important part to say is that when you say that, the orders didn't change at all. what we saw in terms of early voting and what we saw today at the polls, it was still Stacey Plaskett in first place, Tregenza Roach in second place,
Yeah.
Donna Gregory in third place, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So that didn't change. So if you add those two together, guess what? There's no change. We have a new governor in all likelihood. This is territory wide. So are we ready to say that's final? Certainly
Wait a
seems clear
minute,
that Stacey
sir.
Plaskett
Wait a
is.
minute. Don't say nothing yet. Don't say nothing yet. Just
No?
hold the card. I mean, we can't. Just give us a little bit more faith time. A little bit more.
Certainly
So
looks
for-
to me like Stacey Plaskett is the next governor of the Virgin Islands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me too.
Yeah.
Well, she's going into
To
the
general election, she still has to
Yeah,
No,
face.
of course,
She still has
she
to
gotta
face.
Correct.
still
I
face
some
can't even believe I
independence.
said that.
She
Of
has-
course,
But
you're
she's
absolutely.
definitely the
certainly looks like she's
Democratic
the
candidate.
she is
I mean,
the
the
delegate.
Democratic
Absolutely.
Nominee. Yeah.
nominee.
And
Basically,
forgive me,
yeah,
I
these
can't believe I
numbers,
said
yeah.
that because I think it's so important to recognize that there are still a number of independent candidates
Yeah.
that are
Of
running for this
course.
office.
Warren
And-
Musler, Gustav James,
Yes.
you name it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
So
a
let's
lot of
get
them haven't
into-
really started campaigning yet. They've essentially said, let's wait until primary is over, so we'll be curious to see how they start ramping it up this week.
So nothing didn't change too much either with the order in which they came in here for the Senate.
Mhm.
Kurt Viale, 1,044.
Yep.
Kenny Gittins, 748. Clifford A. Joseph, 710. Nemi Williams Jackson, 640. Lisa J. Charles, 582. Herbert L. Frederick, 579.
Wow.
Jose Bice Gonzalez, 566. Linda Nikki Brooks, 482. Dwight Mike Cartier, 165. Omar Henry, 156. Total write-ins, 53.
And that
I don't know Mike
was,
St. Thomas though.
I didn't track after the first seven, but for the
Oh,
top
yes.
7 vote getters, the one that will advance in the Democratic primary for Senate in St. Croix legislature, that order did not change.
No.
No.
But we gotta
From
still
early
add.
voting and day of voting.
Right. No,
So-
the order didn't change, but when we add the numbers in,
Yeah.
the shift might just happen. I tell you, some of
think
them was
so?
only 2 points off. You know,
No.
some,
But the fact that
You
Frederick is
No, it's not going
is-
to change.
Frederick
Mathematically,
is-
that's not going to change.
You-
Frederick is 6th placed here
Yeah.
based on the numbers. So I'm curious to see, are people content with him serving a senator based on these numbers for the primary election date? 579. You know, he's not that far from Basic Gonzalez here with 566 based on primary election date.
and remember, they're going into the general too.
Yeah,
And,
and it has
usually
independence.
in the primary,
Right.
the top 5 Democrats
Yeah,
is who
are
doesn't
actually
name.
essentially safe.
It's essentially safe.
6 and 7 usually not as much.
Right.
So that's something that they have to keep an eye on. 'Cause remember, that's how. I'm trying to remember the candidate.
So-
I remember when I get it back, I'll mention it. But that is concerning to me. I would be concerned.
Yeah, I would be saying,
As an
general
incumbent,
campaign
with
from
these
now
numbers,
to November, work.
I'm concerned.
Work.
So Kurt
Swing.
Viale is no surprise to us,
That-
right?
that
We were
is always
expecting,
top vote
expecting
getter.
that. But Kenneth Gittins, I'm a little surprised that he's the number 2 vote getter. Here is a person, does anybody else know of any forum debate that he's ever participated in?
No, but we talked about that earlier when we said some people run 2 different type of campaigns,
Yeah.
but they still get that name recognition vote or that vote of confidence. You know, like some people just have confidence in certain people, and that's just gonna happen. You could say nothing, and you're gonna still get my support.
And this time around, Clifford is not number 2. He came number 2 in the 2024 primary election.
He's still close,
But
yeah.
he's close, but he didn't come. So I wonder why individuals saw what did they see different in Gittins this time that propelled him to that second spot.
He also didn't have Novell Francis to battle against,
True.
right? Like he's
And that concerned me with the St. Croix district for governor and lieutenant governor. Because remember, Francis is always strong on this district. So the fact that
Yeah.
right here I'm only seeing 801, I think maybe it has something to do with the association of running with Roach, maybe?
I think it has everything to do with you going against the best of the best. Tregenza said to Stacey, "You've never had a formidable opponent, right? In this governor lieutenant,
Yep.
everybody was formidable.
Yes, everybody.
You going against pound for pound boxers. You
Yes,
know that kind
yeah, I
of
agree
way?
with
Like
you.
this is a heavyweight championship fight
Mm-hmm.
and not a middleweight fight and use a heavyweight. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about Avery Lewis and
Yes,
the St. Thomas
please.
district. Their numbers, so Avery L. Lewis is 671, Marvin A. Blyden is 632, Carla Joseph is 598, Charnel Fina Francis is 474, Rudel A. Hodge Jr. is 452, Ray Popa Fonseca is 427, Peter Bailey is 400, Maynard May Leader is 379, Joel Brown Connors is 371, Kashif Hamilton is 368, Michael A. Smith is 303, Lawrence Larry Boshelty is 294, and the total write-ins, even today,
Yeah.
209. That's almost 700
100 something votes. Clearly, they're not
Write-ins.
content with some of the individuals that are running for legislature for St. Thomas. Clearly.
So for
Definitely.
governor's race and for St. Croix legislature, really no change from early
No.
voting versus day of voting.
Yeah.
But we have a shakeup here in St. Thomas where that's going to change because St. Thomas, Rudell Hodge Jr. was the fourth highest vote getter in early voting. He's still up there. He's fifth highest in the day of voting. So he's still going to make the cut. Fina Francis, and he switched places between day of and early voting. And then we have Ray Fonseca is gonna make the cut as well. That's the top six. But the seventh, it was Connor who was seventh in early voting. But in day of voting, both Bailey and Leader snuck
above
in
it.
ahead, right?
Uh-huh.
So we'll have to actually see how those counts come out now
Yeah.
before we have a final vote tally to understand who made that seventh seat
Sure.
for the Democratic Party nomination.
Board of Education. Let's talk
So,
numbers.
Board of Education, St. Croix districts. Day of, Winona A. Hendricks, 1,254. Terrence T. Joseph,
No,
No,
that's
no.
this is day of.
Day of. This one is day of.
Close it. Open the next one. Okay. There you go.
Day
there I
of.
go.
Just have to make sure. Correct that.
The numbers are coming in, y'all.
The numbers
Yes,
are
they're
coming in.
coming. Yes.
So for Board of Education, St. Croix district, Terrence T. Joseph, day of, 515 votes. Winona A. Hendricks, 403 votes. Christopher Jacobs Jr., 332 votes. Mojanaya Dennis, 326 votes. Now we move to the St. Thomas St. John district.
And again, before you do, no change there.
No change, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, Winona was
Winona was
Number
higher.
one.
was first, but still,
done early.
what I mean by no change in this case, you're correct about that, but still we have the
In
two
terms of the
people
top
who are
two.
going to be
The
who
top
are
two
going to get the
was
nomination
Dennis.
are still
Yeah.
going to get the nomination.
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay, Board of Education, St. Thomas, St. John. Judy M. Gomez, 593. Ara Lockhart, 414. Devante Xavier, 382. Michelle Cothran, 177. Write-in totals, 18. Total votes cast, 1,584.
Practically the same
same?
thing here
Yeah.
as well with those two. And Board
Early
of
voting
Elections.
really did show us who was going to be on election day. Huh?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it did. It
They
did.
gave us some insight.
It gave us a real big
So,
insight.
Board of Elections, and this is when things get spicy.
Mm-hmm.
St. Thomas, St. John districts. Atanya Springett, 460. Kevin A. Rodriguez, 458. Barbara Peterson, 457.
Wow.
So we noticed that,
Barbara got knocked
originally
down.
Yeah.
in the early voting, Kevin was leading, Barbara second, and Atanya was third. However, on present day voting, we see that Atanya is now leading, Kevin second, and Barbara third.
But let's acknowledge these numbers are not far apart.
No,
they're
One,
not.
No.
two,
No.
like
There's
these
no,
are
there's
not.
no mandate. in
Yeah,
that.
there's no mandate here. Clearly,
No.
they don't like whoever
Yeah.
voted today did not really find somebody that was like
No.
everybody agreed on. Like, yeah, this person have to go. It was just kind of like, okay, I pick this one, you pick this one, you pick this one, and whoever make it, make it. That's
Yeah.
based on what these numbers look like. So
For
I do
day of
want to
voting,
know-
today's voting,
I want
Kevin
to
Rodriguez and Barbara Peterson are split by one vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
mhm.
And then also
Well, Barbara
too,
Peterson was above him in the
Mhm.
thing by 4 votes. think she had 4 more than him.
So that's
Yeah.
one where we'll have to
And-
see if we've gotten absentee tallies or anything else, because
Yeah.
it's so close.
It's-
Could
So
be-
right now, Kevin and Barbara are leading.
Mm.
Again, we have to wait for the absentee ballots. et
Yeah,
cetera,
because
but
that can change.
That can change,
Yes.
but as of right now, with the data that we have
Yeah.
presented,
Not Springett.
no,
So if you-
that's Springett.
No.
Wow.
No, and
she's
she's
an incumbent.
she's an incumbent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she might end up losing her seat.
Seat.
Ah.
Is anybody surprised? Talk the
Um,
truth, shame the devil. Are we surprised?
Not necessarily, simply because I think people are just now tired of the board of election every minute in drama, confusion, chaos. And I think now they just need people who are level-headed or who are actually going to say, you know what? I'm tired of the back and forth. Let's actually get this thing done. I think maybe that's what it is
I wanna
now.
move something.
Because every minute, like legit, every minute, it's always something with the Board of Elections. The place that is supposed to ensure our democracy remains intact is always in some argument. The place where differences are expected, but is the way they're dealing with the differences is the issue. And I think they're realizing, you know what, no, we need somebody that is going to stand up, because most times the people that are making the most noise in the Board of Elections is the St. Croix representatives.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
That's
Yeah,
the
you have
fact.
1 or 2 St. Thomas, but for the most part is the St. Croix representatives. So maybe St. Thomas St. John is trying to say, we need somebody strong enough that is going to say, no, this can't work. Let's get back to what we were elected to do, which was ensure fair, secure, and transparent elections.
Yes.
Maybe that is the
Agree.
motion that they're saying, because you know she's serving and she's been serving a while. And then I want to even dive into her husband Boschulte, Lawrence Boschulte. He was a member, left to run for the Senate, but based on the numbers, he's not going to get the opportunity to advance into the general. So this is just something to put into perspective. Maybe people are
Yeah.
just ready for something different. They may be ready for some people to come in and say, no, we need to question this. Let's actually propel and get elections where it's supposed to be, and making sure that people have faith in the system. Because when all of this chaos is happening, you know, people are not going to have faith in the system.
Yeah.
You know? But like I said, the fact that people came out 10,000 and something territory-wide between today and the early voting, that is huge.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the general election now, right? Like based on who the Democratic Party has selected as their slate, I'm really, really wondering what is the wider community going to see? Because to me, the Democratic Party has said in some areas no, but majority of it is same, right? Like we only give open seats to what was open, but we give everybody back their seat.
So let me
From-
share some news with you about the general election as it pertains to the delegate for Congress position. So delegate for Congress in voting tallies today, so this is again only people who voted today, August 1st, not including early voting, but they mirror what we saw in early voting in terms of order of candidates. It's Janelle Sereau, 1,365 votes, Delia Smith, 866, Terry Helen East, 243, and Emmett Hansen, 137. So we know that Janelle Sereau is going to get the nomination from the Democratic Party. We also know that on the general election ballot right now, there is only one other candidate, and that's Shelley Moorhead. Shelley Moorhead this morning
Said,
Yes.
said, I'm out.
I'm out. I saw it.
He said, I'm out. So Janelle Sereau is probably saying, barring some super writing campaign,
I'm the
she
next
can
delegate
expect
to
to be the
Congress.
next delegate to
She's
Congress.
going to the Hill.
Yeah.
She's going to the Hill. You know, Ryan and panelists, I'm really, really intrigued because we just scream so much, I want change, but do
The
Virgin
change
Island,
was-
there is, I think we like a steady change. Like,
Yeah.
like we're not drastic change people here in the Virgin Islands. We like that decided to wear apple red shoe instead of a ruby red shoe kind of people. We're not necessarily the, I ain't wearing red shoes no more, I'm gonna put on some yellow shoes kind of people. I don't see it in any election where we ever cutthroat. like
Wow.
knockoff incumbents,
And-
like in
And
real
that is
life.
interesting you said that, because in the Caribbean, greater wider Caribbean, it's totally different. Like, for example, St. Vincent, last year they went and elected, they had the opportunity to elect a new government,
Mhm.
and their government was the St. Vincent, I believe it was the Labour Party, and then the Democratic Party swapped 14 of the 15 seats. So clearly their mandate was like, no, we're tired of this government that was in for 24 years. We want something new. And for the Virgin Islands, it's kind of like what Emmanuella said. Yeah, we want some new faces,
Yeah.
but let's continue to have some of the people that we already
Slow
know
and steady, slow and
that could
steady.
actually deliver and do what we're electing them to do.
Yeah,
This is a good time to talk about when candidates should start running their campaigns.
depending.
And the reason I say that is because if you want to have new candidates in 2028, the time to start is now.
No.
Yeah.
Or the
That's
time
right.
to start was 2 years ago or 4 years ago even. It
Mhm.
takes that much organizing, it takes that much community engagement to be able to be ready and understand who's going to be put forward. And it takes, this is the part that I keep talking about with my circle of people, it takes asking people to run for office
Mhm.
now if you want to see them running in 2028, right?
Mhm.
And
So
I've
if
been
you
getting
know
asked
somebody
quite
in
a
the
bit.
community and you think that person would make an excellent governor, that
Yes.
person would make an excellent senator,
Yes.
that person should be on the Board of Education, the time to wait to ask them isn't in November of 2027.
Right.
It is right now, it's August of 2026.
Mhm.
And we have to do that so that people have time to be prepared and consider their choices and consider what they're going to be able to be doing and so forth. We've got to change the law to allow people who are working in the government of the Virgin
Thank you.
Islands to
Yes.
be able to run for office themselves.
I agree.
Yeah.
To be able
Yes,
to
about
say,
time,
to
man.
say we are going to
Definitely.
take out 30% of the workforce and say you may not run for office
Essentially, yeah.
is
Absurd.
I said this at the Democratic Party forum.
Mm-hmm.
That is a disservice to the public.
I agree.
Yes.
It's a disservice to the public because it means that you and I don't have the opportunity to have the people that we might want to represent us to be able to
Mhm.
step forward and do that.
And I always fold that just a little bit more because of that, majority of them are sisters, right? Like majority of the women that are working within the government that would be interested in running and stuff are women. So, and women have to think to themselves a lot of times, household or you know,
Yeah.
service.
Service.
The privilege of service came for me when my children became
Mhm.
old enough, right? Don't think it wasn't always in my heart, but do you think I could have said, feed the kid or take 6 months
Right.
off to run? Like, you just don't have that privilege unless you've got that backative behind you.
Yeah, and I want to just say for
Sorry.
the Board of Education, Mojanaya, Chris, and Devante, like, you know, seriously, from one young person to another, you know, don't be discouraged by the
Never,
results.
never.
Take it in, you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to tell you don't take it in, because I had to take it in when I got
I had
that,
to take it in too.
those results when I ran
Mhm.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
So take it in, regroup, but get back into the work.
Yes.
Get back into the work, because I think that's when you decide to run again, because I definitely could see these two guys running again, these three guys.
Absolutely.
Show the people, okay, you know what, you didn't like me necessarily in 2026, but I'm going to show you why I deserve your vote in 2028.
And get some practice in, right?
Yes.
Go and apply for a board. There's
Yes.
so many boards. There's a construction board, there's engineer boards, there's tourism and hospitality, because I know the brother in St. Thomas also, because, you know, I go to Windward all the time, and
Yes.
he used to work there, and he's
Yes.
very hospitable, understands the nature of being a human to another human.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead and get that experience, and these boards can benefit from your service.
Yes.
And then come back again, because they will have space for you at the table. Don't walk away from it. I agree with you,
Yes,
Anthony.
and I am not shocked with the results in terms of Michelle Cawthron, because many people didn't really know her.
Yeah, I was shocked to see her name on the ballot just now. I was like, wait a minute. I thought there was only one other person in the St. Thomas district. Seriously, I did not know there were two.
Because I didn't really see posters, I didn't really see a website, I didn't really
No.
see much of anything. She did come on my show via We, and we did do an interview. And she had some really good insight that I think should not be
Left.
discredited or left. However, she struggled to really campaign.
Well, then call the board now. We're into new ideas. The
Yes.
boards are
Yeah.
open to public discussion every single time. We have a
Mhm.
meeting coming up in August. log on to the board meeting for the Board of Education and really share some of those insights that you have, because if Anthony says you're smart, I'm here for it.
It's we need the perspectives.
We do.
And I think people need to realize it's just that you can't just limit it to you actually getting elected. There's other ways that you can blend your perspectives and experience.
That's right.
And I think that is the point that I think all of us here are driving. Even if you didn't make it today, that doesn't mean that you have to give up. That doesn't mean stop serving. That's not what that means. You just have to find where you can begin serving, and then of course expand into what you really want to do in the future.
I want to get back to something that Emmanuella said earlier.
Yes.
'Cause you were saying that basically you weren't sure if we were ready for change. Maybe that we wanted little incremental change. And I want to say that I don't think the voters of the Virgin Islands have had a fair opportunity to answer that question for us yet.
Okay.
And the reason is, I'm going to go back to this, St. Croix district, 10 people running in the Democratic Party for 7 seats.
Yeah.
And yet we still saw 3, I think it is, 3 new challengers
Yes, that didn't make it.
make the cut.
Yeah.
To me,
No, make the cut. They made it. 3 new ones.
to me, that
And then-
says we're
yeah.
ready for change.
Yeah, yeah.
Based
essentially,
on what
yeah.
you've given us, that is the voters saying loud and clear, I want change. I absolutely want change. I think that the problem is that we still haven't given voters the opportunity to have a dramatic
Right.
enough shift in what
Yes.
change looks like. And this is something that I know when I was 18, 19 years old, it was something I was frustrated with government. I was like, you want me to vote between that person and that person? What's the difference?
Yeah, it's
Right.
they're doing basically lesser
What's
of the
the difference?
evils.
Right.
Yeah.
Why am I supposed to register to vote if all you're going to do is you're going to give me this or this, when what I want is something way over here that feels
Right.
so much different than that?
So this is where the civic engagement comes in.
Yes.
Right? If that's
Yep.
what you want, go get that person and put their name on the ballot, right?
I
Like,
agree with you.
This is the part, 2 things. One, we know our livelihood depends on, and 30% of the people work for the government, so
Yep.
that population is already out,
Yes.
right? Like, unless they're willing to go without a check or to use up their personal time, they're out. So then we still
No,
have-
I'm not gonna let you just pass that by, because you can still campaign and have a full-time job. You cannot campaign as well or as dedicated as somebody
No,
else,
I'm not
but you
arguing
still
that.
can.
I'm saying you
Yeah.
can't do it and work for the government full-time, right?
But only because that's prohibited by law.
Yes.
But I think that's going to change, because we've seen
And
that
I'm
bill
hoping.
advancing before, and I'm hoping that comes back. And I think it's the responsibility of the legislature to do that,
But,
and especially with some new blood in the legislature right now, I'm hoping they're going to.
And to
So
me,
that's- oh, I'm sorry.
no, sorry, no, you're good. And I was to say, and to me, you know, I see that as cowardly if you keep stalling this legislation. If you really believe in what you've accomplished and who you are as a person,
Agree.
I am willing to accept a challenger. Let's do it. Show me why you think you would be better at this particular job than me. Why the people of the Virgin Islands should choose you versus me. Like, and that, I just think that's the competitive nature in me.
Does it come with selling yourself, I guess, as a candidate to the
That
general
definitely plays a part. It definitely plays a part in
So
that.
I have these discussions all the time, right? Because I think sometimes our candidates are playing to get a vote, right?
Mhm.
And then the people are forcing good candidates not to get in because you playing for that specific thing too, right? Like, so it's like a phantom relationship, so to speak. Bria, I want Bria vote, so I'm gonna tell Bria whatever it is she need to do, and in some cases I'm gonna push whatever it is Bria need. But Bria's so finicky that Bria changed the calm. Our people, like when I say consensuses, are very finicky. What people want is thing. We heard Albert say he wrote down a list of all the things that people had wanted inside of the thing, and when he looked at his list and the things he accomplished, and still at the end, we pick people against him in some ways, right, Ryan? Like there's still a vote against him. They said they wanted bathrooms. They said they wanted roads. They said they wanted bridges.
Yes.
You got them all, and we still turn around the next election and say, pick anybody that ain't like he. Like, that's the part I'm saying. It's like a quagmire that I can't fully get, Bria.
I really think we should take a moment and look at some of the metrics that got us here too. And what I mean by that is it's a moment like this that I like to reflect on what were the predictions or predictive
Of course, let's look at
information that we
those.
had before the election. And to me, that's a couple things I want to talk about right now. One is polls,
Yes.
and the other one is money.
Yes.
Okay? So in polls, I don't pretend to have seen all the polls, but I do remember seeing the Breton polling service issued a poll with a fairly small sample size of only 180 voters.
But tell me, it hit the head.
And they got it right in terms of governor.
Oh.
They put Stacey Plaskett ahead. They got it right in terms of delegate to Congress. They put Janelle Soro ahead. In terms of St. Croix Senate,
Just about, except with Nemi.
VLA, Joseph, Gittins, Frederick, Gonzalez, Williams Jackson, and was that all of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Lisa Charles
and Lisa
is on
Charles.
there too. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So yeah, they had Lisa Charles in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who did they miss then? Somebody I didn't get on there.
And I want us to note something too. Lisa J. Charles, when she ran for Senate the first time, she ran as an independent.
Right.
And she changed, went back to being a
Oh,
Democrat.
that's another whole show. Can we talk about how much we hate the Democrats, but yet when somebody runs on the Democrats, Janelle, right? Independent to Democrat. Tregenza
Yeah.
talks about going from independent to Democrat when he ran as a lieutenant governor. Lisa Charles. We could go down the list of people who have run the first time as one thing and come back the next time as a Democrat. So are they the ones?
This is something that the Democratic Party is actively wrestling with right now.
Yes.
We
Yes.
know they are. I give
Yes.
them credit for tackling the issue, but we also know that the Democratic Party in the Virgin Islands, it's an open secret that the Democratic Party has been a party of convenience, a party of opportunity for people, as opposed to
And
a
money.
party of platformed principles, right? It is not a party that people have joined because they are necessarily aligned with the principles and the platform of the Democratic Party, either here in the Virgin Islands or nationally, but it is a party that they have joined because it's the club,
That's right.
right? I think the Democratic Party right now is trying to address that. So
Yes.
again, I think saying that how it has been and acknowledging that, but also understanding that there's work being done
There's a
right
shift.
now. There's a shift
important.
because the Democratic Party is trying to get a handle on making sure that people are aligned with
Agreed.
what the goals of the Democratic Party are here. That's important, but it plays to what you're saying in terms of this switch back and forth of I'm in the party or I'm not in the party, right? And we've certainly seen a lot of that.
But I
And to
think
be a-
you mentioned
yes,
the right word, convenience.
Yes.
When it fits best.
When it fits
So
best,
Yes.
I'm
is
in.
that-
When it,
Not necessarily that's my value, right?
Right.
And that's technically how they run the
And
plat-
remember, if we can talk about this too, former Senator Whitaker, same thing. When she ran in 2018, she ran as an independent.
Yes.
When she ran in 2020, she ran as a Democrat, and she
Yes.
was number 2 in the primary. So this is
Yeah.
not really nothing new. This is more of a strategy that's used. And to be honest with you, most Democrats in the territory are more conservative.
Oh, we're Republicans by heart, but not by governance.
I
right?
understand.
And,
Yeah,
and,
I understand
and
what you're
that's
saying.
different.
Yes.
But we're very conservative.
The
people here in the
Republicrat
Virgin Islands.
kind of label.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're really conservative. It's that they're conservative is the term that they use, right?
Yes.
Because
So-
we'll throw it all out the window.
Yes.
And let's not forget somebody else who's on the ballot this year, which is, of course, Nellie O'Reilly, and she was Democrat in the primary last time, and
that's
then she
true.
ran independently as a write-in candidate.
Yeah.
And she
Um,
didn't do bad. She
No.
lost, but her write-in numbers were high.
Well, good for a write-in.
Yeah.
Good for a write-in. She
Well,
was-
right now,
yeah.
St. Thomas, she got running start at 700 votes if she
So,
go over there.
We'll see how she does in the general this year. So,
Yes.
so I was talking about these metrics, and polls was one. Actually, there was another poll that was very unscientific. It was just parking lot interviews at Cost You Less.
Oh, jeez.
Done St. Croix and St. Thomas, and I don't have that in front of me, can't remember, but I do remember that the top vote getter, in their mind, the leader in that poll, was Roach.
Yeah.
So Roach Francis, if you believed that poll, and this is why I think it's important to reflect on this, if you believed that poll, you would expect that Roach Francis was going to be your next governor. So it's just good to, I think, have that reflection, look back and say, how did that really work out? And now have that kind of reflective understanding when you look at it forward in 2028, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about dollars too?
Yes, let's talk about money. Yes.
So the big place to talk about money in this campaign was the governor's race.
Yes.
Right? There wasn't really any other place to talk about money in the same kind of breadth as the governor's race. And it's important to remember also, this year we saw the legislature pass an increase in campaign donations, going up from $1,000 or something to $3,500. Am I saying that right? I'm close if I don't have it exactly right. And then I thought that was actually going to apply to next election, but it sounds like then there was an amendment to some other non-germane bill, and the governor passed that and pushed it through, and $3,500 became the law of the land for this election. If I follow that.
All right. Well, we just got the territorial election summary results report, primary election 2026. So I'm thinking this is most likely all the this is early voting and primary election day. This is everything together. So governor and lieutenant governor, Stacey E. Plaskett and Milton Potter, 4,493.
Wow.
Tregenza Roach and Novell E. Francis, 3,054. Donna Fred Gregory, Rodney Moorhead, 1,975.
Wow.
So,
Kurt
yes.
Viale, 3,539 votes. Kenneth Kenny Gittins, 2,677 votes. Clifford A. Joseph, 2,445 votes. Nemi Williams Jackson, 2,200 votes.
Good this time
Lisa Charles, 2,026. Hubert Frederick, 2,013. Jose Bise Gonzalez, 1,707. Linda Nikki Brooks, 1,548. Dwight Mike Cartier, 625. Omar B.U. Henry, 517. And in the St. Thomas District, Avery Lewis, 2,724 votes. Marvin A. Blyden, 2,328 votes. Carla Joseph, 2,202 votes. Rudell A. Hodge Jr., 1,587 votes. Chanel Fina Fredericks, Francis, 1,578 votes. Ray Popa Fonseca, 1,486 votes. Joel S. Brown Connor, 1,393 votes. Peter Bailey, 1,389 votes. Kashif Hamilton, 1,327 votes. Mayard May Leader, 1,279 votes. Lawrence Larry Bushelty, 1,089 votes. Michael A. Smith, 991 votes, and the write-in total 784 write-ins, with a total vote cast of 20,157.
For the Board of Education, St. Croix District, territorial wide, well, not territorial wide, St. Croix District. Terrence T. Joseph, 1,767. Winona A. Hendricks, 1,657. Christopher Jacobs Jr., 1,223. Mojaniah Dennis, 1,183. Write-in totals, 30. Total votes cast, 5,860. St. Thomas St. John District for Board of Education, Judy Gomez, 2,303. Ara Lockhart, 1,671. Devante Xavier, 1,389. Michelle Cawthron, 557. Write-in totals, 47. Total votes cast, 5,967. For Board of Elections, St. Thomas St. John District, Kevin A. Rodriguez, 1,759. Barbara Peterson, 1,750. Atanya Springett, 1,691. Write-in totals, 90. Total votes cast, 5,290.
And delegate to Congress.
And for the delegate to Congress, again, no surprise compared to what we saw before. Janelle Sorrow saw 4,913 votes. Delia Smith, 3,007 votes. Terry Helenise, 799 votes. Emmett Hansen, 493 votes. What did I miss?
No. They had a moment. Sorry.
There were 22 write-in totals, and the total votes cast for the delegate to Congress position territory-wide was 9,234 votes.
You can't say people ain't come out.
No.
Yeah,
Them Democrats come out.
they came out.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
before people like to say, oh, only 2% of the Democrats that come out to vote in the
No,
primary,
they
you
can't
know,
say
and
that
they
today.
saying all of that stuff. Nobody can say that today. Maybe there is something to this new direction that the party is going in. And, you know, maybe it is getting a new group activated, or, you know, getting people energized, at least to take their civic responsibility serious, you know?
And then looking at both the legislature section, I was looking, both districts chose 2 women
Yes, I noticed that.
and 5 men to represent them in the general for the Democratic primary.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see how that's going to that dynamic, because remember, we have independent candidates too. We have DeGraff that's running for St. Thomas. We have Francis Heiliger. You know, you have Franklin Johnson on St. Croix. You have Carrion that's announced he's running again. So it's curious to see, are these individuals going to be able to keep up their numbers in the general?
Like I said, I came here today to find out if we're going with experience, relationship, or new direction, right? What I see is in the board, we're going with experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we gambling on experience as a people. When it comes to the gubernatorial, I think we're going with relationships. We want somebody that could be able to leverage us and our ability as a government. And so we went with Stacy. And when it comes to Janelle, we went with new direction when it goes to Congress, because Delia has more experience sitting in those spaces. But we went with a new direction. We went with Janelle, who is academia prepared, but not necessarily have sat in a Congress room.
Wow.
So I want to still get back to this money part, right?
Sure, go ahead.
Because I think it's really important. We talk about votes as something that maybe can be bought at times, or certainly we talk about the influence of money in politics. And there have been a lot of changes in the national level about this recently. Certainly, we have seen limits on campaign contributions lifted, both in terms of the advent of PACs and super PACs, but also in terms of now it's Supreme Court says political parties can basically, the Democratic Party itself can give unlimited amount of money to each of its candidates if it wants to. So that's a pretty huge change. So despite the limits on individual donations, we saw a lot of donations come from outside of the Virgin Islands this time. And the Plaskett Potter campaign raised $308,473.34 in their I think this, I'm not sure if this was total or just in the latest reporting period, but I think that's the bulk of what they raised. That is a lot more than Donna Fret Gregory and Rodney Moorhead raised. Again, $308,000 and change for Plaskett Potter. Fret Gregory and Moorhead, it was $62,000 and change. And Tregenza Roach and Novelle Francis, it was $79,342.54. So it's interesting to track that money and understand how that may influence our elections, and also be able to think about how we want that to shape our elections in the future.
Yeah.
I want to bring up a point. So I know
Sure.
we just discussed finances, but what are your thoughts about endorsements?
Oh.
Some of these candidates.
I think that played a part. I think that played a huge favor in Plaskett.
As someone who highly believes in my social collateral, I know how heavy it is to say, I'm just going to give you an endorsement. People don't take that. That's my wall you standing on, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I don't think people will give endorsements without really considering this is somebody I want to do. I don't take them lightly. When I see endorsements, I'll be like, yeah, because my name matters to me. I've worked really hard to build this name.
Yeah.
So I'm just not out there saying, oh, well, I did see Bria last week, so let me go and endorse her. That's not how- I don't think that's how it works at all.
No.
I think that has more leverage than money, too.
Exactly. Yeah, I am just, these numbers, like I said, Devontae Xavier, even though he wasn't ultimately chosen, 1,389 voters ultimately gave him the opportunity. I think is something to be commendable. Same thing with Christopher and Mojanaya, 1,223, 1,183. That just speaks volumes. But this lets me know too.
Yeah.
That Terrence Joseph 1,767 and Winona Hendricks 1,657. At some point, the voters are gonna say, you know what, we really need to bring some young people, because they're in the thousands, and to be honest with you, they're not really far apart.
For a first time run?
For a first
My
time
first
run.
time, I think I had 593.
Yeah.
Anthony, you didn't have to agree with that.
I understand because when I read,
I think it was more like 800. You could have did
I
something.
mean, we're being real, right? We're being realistic, right? Right? So, but the fact they did that as a 21-year-old, 24-year-old, and a 25-year-old, that is speaking volumes. And I know for sure, young people are saying, young people rallied behind it.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think a lot of elder people rallied
Did it
behind
too? Yeah, because clearly the numbers show it.
I'm also curious to know if having young people on the ballot is what helped drive more voter participation overall from young people, not just voting for them, but,
I think so,
because we
too.
saw
I
more
think so, too.
ballots.
I think so,
too.
Yeah.
I really think so.
And of course, we saw a lot of the issues play out in this election that we're used to hearing about: roads, schools, crime, education, WAPA, right? But it's important to remember how these issues may have influenced and played out on voters through the election process. I mean, last night I woke up hot. Why would I wake up hot? The fan didn't work.
Oh no!
Why didn't the fan work?
No WAPA.
WAPA went out middle of the night,
Yeah.
right? A bunch of people lost sleep last night, right before going out to vote today.
You know something, Ryan? You just said that, and you know what triggered in my head? So when we started a conversation around Stacy, you talked about like having a heavy heart with her leaving Congress, right?
Yeah.
Now I feel like the pressure is on, sis.
It
Right?
is.
Because you produce.
Oh, it very much
you
is.
produce such high quality as a delegate.
Yeah.
We gonna really expect you to perform here, right, on a local
Or you
level.
lose.
And she campaigned on, I went and got a bunch of money for the Virgin Islands, put me in charge so I can spend it appropriately,
Right,
make sure it
she
gets,
ran
gets
on
used
that,
here.
and that's
Absolutely.
that pressure. Like I just
that is,
thought
I
about
think-
it. I was like, man.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
we need to
heavy
see
weight.
now, can she do a better job than Brian did in terms of making sure that the money that Washington has pledged to the Virgin Islands actually gets distributed throughout the Virgin Islands in terms of upgraded infrastructure, and hopefully with it also some jobs that come along with the process of putting that many projects in the pipeline.
So I just want to be, now that the primary is over, when it comes to Alberta, have like a 80-20. I do not think he was a governor that didn't produce, right? Like he wasn't perfect in no way. And of
No, I
course,
agree with you.
His oversight was his Achilles heel, right? Because you got so much little fraudulent stuff. But in regards to moving the money and moving projects and building a system that works all at the same time. Remember, MAP secured the money, but we didn't have that build out strong with ODR and with finance, and moving the money was a thing.
And Brian has
And
also
we
been very
got-
accessible. Somebody
Oh.
who checks in with the press,
Yes.
who meets the
10
people,
and 10,
absolutely,
he went in that
who shows
level.
up.
He
Yes.
has, and the next governor can't go backwards
No.
to the
Yeah.
days
No,
of
they're gonna have to
getting
keep that.
notes like that De Young stuff.
But
either.
at the same time,
Right.
it is his administration where we have seen corruption creep up I mean, maybe it's not new to the Virgin Islands, but we saw him getting caught.
Right. So
And we
that's
saw
why
him getting caught not because his administration was catching people, because it wasn't what we've seen thus far in terms of the people who've been convicted are all convicted by the feds,
Yes.
right?
Right.
It
That's-
wasn't our own government, and that's the thing that is hard for me to let go of.
And that's
To
fair.
know that there has been that much corruption within VI government, and not the kind of attention and oversight to make sure that doesn't repeat itself, and we know that's not happening because they weren't catching the people that were
That's
caught.
fair. But imagine if we had put more energy into the corruption.
Yep.
Would we have had a new school opening in September? Would we have had all the dams cleared and built over the bridges? Would we have had?
Would we have had that
like,
pile of wood
would-
that's sitting in that school lot
One-
made into rooftops?
Okay. Would we have had
Come on.
Would we have had all of
Oh.
the other things that we have too, though, Ryan? Like,
No, I think that's a very
know-
unfair, very unfair comparison.
I'm just saying.
No, I
when
think the opposite
about
is
it,
true.
It's
No.
80-20.
It doesn't work that way. You don't say we allow corruption because we want
We
to
didn't
enable
allow it.
progress.
We didn't allow it, Ryan. We didn't notice it. It's like your mango trees that's growing at the bottom of your hill and your banana trees at the top. You're looking at your banana trees because that's
Yeah.
what you're focused on. You miss the mango trees. I'm not saying that he allowed it, like he sat back and said, yep, we know this is happening. I'm saying you missed the bus because you were focused in this direction. You know that look over here thing?
I don't give it that much of a
That's-
pass. And the reason I don't give it that much of a pass is because we know he fired his attorney general. And we know he fired his attorney general, at least it is largely believed, he fired her because she was prosecuting an important and noteworthy crime in the Virgin Islands, or an issue. She was tailing what was happening with public officials.
But
And
do we know that or do we assume that? that the firing was linked
Oh.
to that.
We know that that's what she was working on before she was fired.
Was that the only thing?
We
she was
also know
working
that
on?
we also know that he said don't do it.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so and then we know she kept doing it.
But we don't know what she fined.
We
don't-
I,
we don't-
I
you
think
know,
that is very
we-
sad. I think the people of the Virgin Islands should be asking that question.
And
I
we
think
will.
I'm waiting for that exit interview.
But I just
Waiting
really
for
want
that. I
us
mean,
to
I would
say
love nothing more
80-20.
than to see somebody sit down with
Progress
Denise
can't happen
George.
if we just dig in one hole.
So-
right, and so we had some progress.
I
Yep.
want to talk about the incumbents for a minute, based
Sure.
on who,
The Senate.
for all the races, based
Okay.
on the ones who, practically the Senate and like boards and stuff. But elections, clearly, St. Thomas said, "Spring it, your time is up.
Fair enough.
Your time is up. We want somebody. We want somebody else, and we're changing guard. You know, clearly that
Yeah.
that was shown here tonight. And then but on the flip side, the Board of Education on both districts, we were like, no, we're keeping the incumbents
We're good.
in
We're good.
to represent us.
Yep.
We're
like what the
solid
Board
with
of
them.
Education is doing.
Right? For Senate, for St. Thomas, Avery Lewis, Marvin Blyden, practically all the Democratic senators, besides Potter, because he's running for lieutenant governor, practically they said, we're good with the Democratic.
Remember the caveat
Except
I
for
mentioned
Ray.
earlier, though.
Except
Yeah,
for
with Ray.
Ray
Ray went
Ray-
down.
No, but how many choices do they
And
have?
they-
So
that
St.
part
Croix
too.
it was 10, and St. Thomas let's see,
12.
12.
Again,
Still less than 2 people for every seat.
yeah. Yep. So, I some of the results kind of shocked me. I'm not gonna lie. Like May Leader for sure. I thought she would have definitely made it.
Oh, interesting.
Because her presence and her platform, her website, she was everywhere. I don't live in St. Thomas, but
she
every
sure
minute
was.
on my feed, May Leader. So that really shocked me.
Yeah.
I thought Joel Brown Connors was not gonna make it because he posted some posters, but I didn't really see anything else.
Yeah.
May Leader had a presence that you saw it. So I just curious as to why St. Thomas didn't give her the opportunity. Maybe they just had confidence in giving Fonseca another chance. You know, because remember the competition was always between Chanel Fina Francis and Ray Fonseca, but this time around, those two are you know, Fonseca still ain't safe because remember we have Independence, and he is what number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still not safe.
And then remember we have independents who are like structured senators too,
Yes.
right? Like
Mhm.
that they
You
don't
have
keep getting.
Francis Heidegger, De Graaf. So Joel Brown Connors and Ray Pupa Fonseca, you need to watch it
You gotta
because
work.
those
You
two,
gotta put in the work.
those two are strong.
yes,
yes.
It's like put in the work.
And for St. Croix, like I said, same thing. Frederick and Gonzalez, you gotta watch out because you have Carrion, you have
Frankie,
right? And Frederick, you really gotta watch out because you're an incumbent in 6th place.
That's right.
Right? When Whitaker ran 2 years ago in the primary, she came 7th and lost the general, and she was
Right.
an incumbent. So
Yeah.
when you're 6 and 7, you have to
Gotta pay
be
attention.
careful, right? So with that being said, we practically know who's representing the party. Last thoughts in terms of, were you shocked? Were you surprised? Were you like, okay, I was expecting this, just so that the public could get an idea? And we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. This was a nice, productive discussion. I think people were able to listen to us, and I think the perspective we were able to provide was a good one.
Yeah.
So I'll give you all the opportunity to tell me last thoughts. What are you thinking in terms of the cycle? What are you looking for, anticipating in the general?
Well, right now my immediate look forward to is walking into these streets and feeling the energy. Right? I know a woman governor for the Virgin Islands is like I could taste it on the tip of my tongue.
They're getting
And that is
potentially
so
getting a
Yeah.
woman governor before a woman lieutenant governor.
Yes. So that's exciting for me, and I want to step outside and feel it. But I'm really now saying to myself, how am I going to support these people? I am a Democrat. I believe in the party's idea of supporting. We as Democrats on the outside that support the leaders on the inside. And that part, now I've got to get my mind wrapped around and really say, where am I going to position myself for the next 4 years to help support the leadership and the direction I want the Virgin Islands to go in with the players that we got.
Yes. Bria?
Definitely. I would say in terms of the results, whether I'm shocked or surprised, I'm kind of neutral about it because I could have kind of foresee some of it.
Mm-hmm.
To echo some of what Emmanuella said, just being able to be there to support the new leaders coming in, I think that would be my focus moving forward.
Ryan, thoughts?
I certainly expected that Plaskett was going to win for governor.
Yeah,
of course
I did. I wasn't shocked with that.
I mean, follow the money, follow the I think the most visible campaign.
Follow the endorsements.
I
follow the values.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's also probably the most, I don't know how to say it, because I don't want to insult the other candidates for it because it's not a reflection on their personalities, but I think she's the most charismatic of the Democratic candidates.
What do
for
you
governor.
call it in the States when you're able to like go between different type of people? They like cross something. When your electability is, whether it's your community, mine, she just has that touch for the different communities, and that's what came out today.
Yeah, absolutely. And she has also had such incredible history of campaigning and essentially rallying voters because of a decade in Congress, right? So she's able to carry that forward. That's a lot longer than the 8 years that Roach was lieutenant governor. Of course, he was senator before that, so that shouldn't be taken for granted.
They said they don't want a continuation.
That man said,
Right, they did say that for sure.
Yeah,
that is what the people of the Virgin Islands have said. And then in terms of delegate Congress, no, I'm not surprised about that.
No,
at all.
I'm not surprised either.
I mean, Thoreau was leading the pack in terms of campaign and energy throughout the whole thing. As you said, Delia Smith came on strong with a campaign to sort of catch up with that, picked up an endorsement or two that I thought were quite key, had some really good interviews, some really good things to be able to say to the people, but it was hard to ever catch up with what Thoreau had already generated in terms of interest. And because, to be fair, Thoreau started campaigning for this position 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, not exactly, but
she was preparing herself for sure.
When she stepped back from Senate, when she stepped back, obviously having campaigned for lieutenant governor's position.
But that's what made the difference. She had that territorial name, Noradi,
She did.
than the others.
She did.
She ran a lieutenant governor
Yeah.
campaign before.
With
so
somebody
people
who was
knew
a
their name,
strong
with somebody
contender.
who was a
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So her name in St. Croix wasn't like, I need to build a name.
And then when she didn't win as lieutenant governor,
She stayed in the game.
she stayed. Well, more than that, she went to school. She did a whole number of things in terms of really having her focus on exactly where she was going and being ready to step in when the time came for this position. It was exactly where she wanted to be and exactly what she wanted to do, and she connected with the voters obviously on that because people said, we would like to nominate you. So yeah, I mean, my congratulations to her. My congratulations to all the candidates who are the nominees of the Democratic Party. And let's remember that with the exception of Thoreau, who doesn't have anybody to face off against in the general election right now, according to what we've heard from Shelley Moorhead, the rest of them, we'll see how they do in November.
Yeah. And don't forget, we have Angel Boquez, who's ran uncontested for Senator at Large.
Yep.
So he's going to face Dr. Hadia Swart.
Correct.
And then don't forget about, what do you call it? Somebody else.
Board of Elections?
Yeah,
And Board of
Shamari
Education
Haynes.
too.
Yes.
Board of Education,
Right.
Lucy Jackson and Dr.
Vincent Gordon.
By the way, we talk about this election cycle. We saw some excellent debates.
Yes, we did.
And the 20v1 programs were
Yes.
fantastic, right?
It's a good
And I
time.
actually, it's a good point to say. I think that's something that cost Roach. is
Yes,
that
it did, because he didn't participate.
Oh.
He didn't
Remember
participate.
Plaskett
He
and
was
Fred
booked and he
Gregory
said,
did.
I'm not going to do that one. And then, I mean, there were other candidates who just declined from the get-go, but every gubernatorial candidate was invited to that. And I think Plaskett and Donna Fred Gregory, it's contentious to set yourself down in front of 20 people who are going to come at you with different questions. But I think the public respected it and said, I appreciate that you're doing this. I appreciate that you're putting yourself forward. And I think they actually had good answers to the questions that were there.
Yeah, and lastly, before we wrap up quickly, I wasn't necessarily shocked with Donna Fred Gregory and Rodney Moorhead. They did run a campaign about caring, and they want to care about the people. You know, yeah, time for results. That was catchy. By the way, and what gets monitored gets done. That keeps playing in my head.
Me too.
Like, she definitely did a number on that. But I wasn't shocked necessarily, because I remember about, say, 2 years, 3 years ago, I remember Senator Johnson at the time on the legislative floor said, I know you're leaving to run for governor 4 years from now, and
It's
you're
that.
you're not going to win. And look
Not
what
in
happened.
St. Croix, he said. He
Yeah,
said,
it's
I'm
not
gonna
in
work
St.
hard,
Croix.
And so said,
And
so
look who
done.
he endorsed. He endorsed Plaskett,
Mhm.
and look who won.
So
Plaskett.
looking
But
forward, I'm
they did
hopeful
run a
that
great
campaign,
campaign,
though.
though. I cannot listen to me, Donna and
Rodney, y'all did a
Y'all
great
did a
campaign.
I just wanna-
excellent job.
I just want to say that I hope that the debates that we saw in the Democratic primary don't stop now.
Oh,
And I
no.
hope that we're
I don't think
going to
we're
see
winning.
candidates. You mentioned Dr. Hadia Sewer and Angel Bolquez. You know, we've got a one-on-one race for the at-large position for legislature.
Mhm.
I sure hope I see the two of them debate.
Yes.
I
We
sure hope
got-
I see them debate, because I think it advances
The
it-
thought process.
It advances the
Yeah.
thought process.
Mhm.
It lets all of the voters of the Virgin Islands get involved, hold stake in what's happening,
Agreed.
understand the candidates better, and make a more informed decision.
Absolutely. So with that being said,
Done.
yeah, this is coverage provided by Active Advocates VI in partnership with the Virgin Islands Source and East Gyul. We
Yes.
want to thank you for tuning in with us. Stay safe, stay blessed, and of course, always continue to participate in the process.
Enjoy.
Definitely.
Virgin
Good night.
Islands.
Good evening.
Good evening.